Hi everybody, Renegade67 and or 68 here with some more Let's Play Stream Fate Stay Night Blind of the Unlimited Blade Works variety. Last time we were fighting Ryder, it was kinky. Before that we fought Rin. More kinky, but it was subtle kink. And now we have decided that of the threesome, we prefer the Rin subtle kink over the Ryder's kink, because her kink was a little too kink. Also, it seems like she's with Shinji anyways, which is like, I mean, we're just a third wheel at that point if we want to get with Ryder. So, forgetting the original theory, that'll never happen. No, definitely not. Did your dad really say such a thing? That's a great question. I'm sure the answer is yes, and if it's not, sure will correct himself, me, you.
ああ、あんまり規則にとらわれるなって言いたかったんじゃないかな、親父は。魔術なんてものは覚えない方がいいし、やめたければいつでもやめろって。
Ah, yes.
仕草だったぞ。
This goes very much against Rin's mentality, because Rin's all like, pride, Tosaka, I don't want to, but I have to. So Kiritsugu was doing a more healthy favor in that sense. Shiro's issues lie elsewhere, but to be fair though, it's not like Shiro's an actual Emiya anyway. I mean, he's an actual Emiya, but you know, blood ties. I guess he wanted to tell me not to be bound by rules. He always told me that I shouldn't learn magic, and that I could quit anytime I wanted. Dash. Okay, that's gonna trigger Rin, because, well, to be fair though, Rin, I'm not blood related to Kiritsugu anyway. I'm adopted, which I think will change things, but I can understand why that'll temporarily trigger her, because she's gonna be like, Kiritsugu sounds like a little ass lamer. You should be prideful. He didn't give you the pride. How dare he? Dosaka grits her teeth. What's she so irritated about? She's showing anonymity like never before. She's irritated at a lot of things. She's irritated at Kiritsugu for, you know, not respecting the pride of the mage. She's subtly irritated at her father for forcing, very subtly, irritated at her father for forcing the pride of her mage on her, when other mages just get to go whittly diddly, not forcing the pride. Because the pride was forced on her, she's like, no, you have to get the pride forced. You got to join the pride of lions, or, you know, you become like Scar. I mean, Scar was in the pride, but like, I don't know. Hakuna Matata.
ふざけないで。
Don't be ridiculous. Irritated that Kiritsugu never prepared Shiro for this world? Sure, but again, Kiritsugu didn't want Shiro to be involved in the magic mumbo-jumbo anyway. To be fair, once he became magic, I suppose it was always possible for Shiro to be part of the Grail War, but Kiritsugu would have never, ever wanted Shiro to be part of the Grail War. He wouldn't have necessarily even wanted him to know it exists, I would assume, so I'm not surprised. But...
あなたの父親は魔術師じゃないわ。そんな奴に鍛えられたあなたも魔術師なんて認めないから。
Your dad's not a magus. If you're taught by such a character, I can't approve of you as a magus. Okay, does that mean our alliance is gonna get all poopy now? Or what's... And if not, then, you know, you're just making a huff for nothing, right? Does it matter if I'm a magus or not? You already know my magic sucks, so...
父さか、落ち着け。何怒ってるんだよ、お前。いや、確かにお前に比べたら、俺は魔術師なんて名乗れないけど。
Tosaka?
親父は立派な魔術師だったぞ。
Calm down. Well, I know I'm no magus compared to you, but my father was a great magus. I mean, even he, I feel, was, you know... He didn't cheat to the extent Shiro did, but he had his own cheats, I feel. I mean, he cheated in different ways, but not when it comes to magic, but I mean, I feel like as far as being a magic goes, he used some more unorthodox methods, because I don't think he was technically as magically proficient as, you know, someone like Rin's father, for example. He wasn't obviously as, you know, bumbling as Shiro, but...
そうじゃない。私が言いたいのはそういうことじゃない。
No, that's not what
私
I
が許せないのは
want to say. Oh, yurusanai. What I can't forgive is that... That what? Then Tosaka's enmity disappears as she's regained her composure. That what, Rin? Can't forgive my father or can't forgive your own father? Because you only wish you could have had such a carefree life. Deep down, that's your real wish, Rin. You frickin' dickin' bickin'.
ごめんなさい。ちょっとどうかしてた。鍛え方は人それぞれだものね。私は私に胸を張ってるんだから、エミヤ君をどうこう言えるはずがなかった。
Your father was all proud of magic and wanted you to be proud of magic. Kiritsugu was not a fan of the magic. I'm sorry, it was my fault. Everyone's ways are different. I'm proud of myself. Are you really? So it's not my place to tell you something. Are you proud, or do you feel like you have to be proud because your father was proud and he died before you could properly say goodbye to him in a proper way? So you were forced to be proud whether you wanted to or not?
わからないな。何か気に障ったことでもあったのか。その親父の教え方とか俺の未熟さとか。
I don't get it. Did something annoy you? Like the method father taught me? Or is it my inexperience?
そうね。エミヤ君の未熟っぷりには文句あるわよ。
Okay, that's something she can latch onto with that little smirky face of hers. Parallels with both Rin and Shiro inheriting their dead dad's dream. I suppose, yeah. Kiritsugu wanted Shiro to be a hero, but that doesn't necessarily involve magic at all. Shiro, and that's the thing, the fact that it doesn't involve magic at all, Shiro, I think, should realize that Kiritsugu didn't want Shiro to learn magic, yet Kiritsugu's okay with the idea of Shiro being a superhero, should realize that, you know, being a hero doesn't necessarily involve magic, and yet Shiro just thought, oh, I have to be like Kiritsugu to be this heroic figure, because I don't know how else to do it, which means getting magic, but that isn't really what Kiritsugu wanted. But yeah, with Tosaga, you know, it's just like, we are the pride of the Habaduba Habaduba Duba. That face she made. I wish I could use history and see the order of faces she made. Because, you know, first she was like, ugh, and then she made the smirk.
何年も魔術を鍛えていて強化しか知らないところとか、そういう弱みを私に教えちゃうところとか。
Like how you only know the strengthening magic after a few years of study, and how you tell me that weakness of yours. Sure. Are you gonna abuse that weakness now? Or would that be too unhonorable? Honor! Flamio. Tosaka smiles suggestively. Oh yeah, I can see the suggestion. Is it just me or do I feel a chill?
そうだな。今すっごく後悔してる。けど仕方ないだろ。俺には教科ぐらいしか取り柄がないし、親父は死んじまったんだから、それ以外のことを教わる方法はなかったんだ。
You're right. I really regret it now, but I can't help it, right? I'm only good at strengthening magic, and my father's dead. I had no way of learning anything else. Oh yeah, Rin's totally a top, always, for sure. Like with Saber, she felt uncomfortable about the whole thing, so Shiro kind of got to be a top. But with Rin is 100% the top, like, no question. I am, you know, thinking about the facial expression she made, you know, digging deep into the facial expression. It would be nice if I could re-see it, but, before the smirk, she had to register. I do have complaints about how inexperienced you are. It was after he said this, like the method father taught me, or is it my inexperience? I guess because that's sort of making her his new teacher in a way. And yeah, she takes the top role, of course. But, I guess because she was just still so flustered and thinking of how to deal with it. And then when she had to get back to the norm of, oh yeah, that's right, focus on the now, not the then. And the now is that she wants to be Shiro's top.
ええ、それが独り身の魔術師の限界ね。魔術師なんていつ死ぬかわからないんだから、そのために魔術刻印を残すんだし、教会と手を組むんじゃない。
And of course, we get Rin's by-the-book explanation. That's the limit of a single magus. Magi don't know when they're gonna die, so they leave magic crests behind and cooperate with the association. Kitsugu did neither of those.
私が頭に来たのはね、そのあたりの努力を全くしなかったあなたの父親によ。
You keep telling yourself that. What I got so angry about was that your dad never did anything against that. How your dad never... You mean your dad never did any of that? Anything against that? No, he definitely did things against that. He didn't cooperate with the association, and he didn't pass on the crest. To be fair, he had no real... I mean, Ilya, arguably, but, like, that's kind of weird. For the crest side of things, and, for the association, he didn't want to be involved because... I mean, I think because he was on the run from the Einsburns. Really, but...
魔術師の魔術はその魔術師だけのものじゃない。
Magic of a magus isn't just his magic.
魔術ってのは親から子へ何代も何代も続けられてきた命の成果だもの。その責任はもう自分だけのものじゃなくなるのよ。
There's that pride and responsibility that was thrust on her by her father before she was old enough to decide for herself, so she just decided, well, I guess it has to be true. Magic is something passed down from parent to child for many generations. It's the sum of their life's work. The responsibility isn't just yours.
だからそれを教わるってことは、後の世代にそれを渡すって
What
こ
a
とが
burden.
第一条件になる。魔術師の家に生まれた子供は、誕生した瞬間に後継者であり、伝承者でもあるの。
The first condition for being taught magic is that you will pass it on to later generations. A child born into a magus' family instantly becomes a successor and an inheritor. So much responsibility. Which, I guess to be fair, we can't blame your dad too much for it. If he's part of some long line, then he probably got the same spiel instilled into his head too. And it's such a young age that you're given this responsibility because the whole first child, only one of them knows the truth about magic, and then they have to have all the responsibility and stuff. And again, she was so young. She wasn't like a teenager at the point. She was still a young child when clearly when her father told her all this, nonsense. And so she was so impressionable. So of course, when he dies early, she's just gonna blindly believe it without questioning anything. Which is unfortunate, but the problem is that it's, it goes back in, generation upon generation. Her father was probably through the same shtick, more or less. If her father lived longer, it's very possible that Rin could have become just as much of a stick in the mud. But because she was raised without him for so long, maybe that's why she didn't end up quite as much of, what's the word I want to look for? Bit of a douche? Bit of a douche. I mean, she's still a bit of a douche, but she's not, like, as big of one, as it were.
私たちはそのために生まれて、そのために死ぬ。
God, that must sucks to hear from your parent when you're what, 10? Younger? 5? Yes, you were born for the reason to pass magic on to someone else. That is your purpose. That is the Tosaka purpose. What's the end point? I always wonder this shit with stuff like this. What's the end point? Well, what is Rin gonna do for Rin, not just for the Tosaka name? Or when is this Tosaka prophecy of magic gonna be fulfilled? When the Grail is won? Then can the Rin just be allowed to be Rin and not just be a Tosaka passing it on? Passing it on to what end? You keep passing it on and passing it on. For what purpose? Just so that the family name can say it's still important? It's a bunch of malarkey. But I get why she buys into it, again, at such a young age. We're born for that reason, and we also die for that reason. Endpoint is probably, finding some way to, rule the world, or get the Grail, get the Tosakas to be amazing for some arbitrary reason that proves that they're the most awesome magical family in the world. Booyah!
魔術師の子供は初めから人間じゃない。
A Magus' child isn't human from the start. I really want to blame her dad for just being a dick for this nonsense, but I'm sure he got the same spiel when he was a weenie, so...
人として生まれたものを長い年月と厳しい修練によって別のものに変えるのが魔術師といい家系の義務。
No, it's the duty of the Magus to change what is born human into something else through many years and hard training.
だから、エミヤ君のお父さんは魔術師なんかじゃない。あなたの父親は魔術師である前に親を取ったのよ。
That's why your dad isn't a magus. Your dad chose to be a parent over being a magus. Ooh, that's what makes you mad. Because you feel Shiro got it too easy. Shiro should have gotten the unfair treatment of being forced to not be a human too. But again, you slipped there. You slipped. You said, oh, Shiro's dad got to be a parent. Almost like Rin, you would have liked it if you had a dad who was a parent. That's a pretty big slip. I'm surprised you made such a big slip. Because that's really getting to the heart of your issues, Rin. She looks away as if she says so. As she says so. To be fair, though, she's been, you know, a teenager without her father for quite a few years. So she's definitely had time to reflect on it and think about what everything means without her father. But still, she's still, even if she realizes it, she still feels locked in for the time being. Ellipses. I don't know why Tosaka's mad. What Tosaka thought when she was raised in this house. How much she sacrificed to train as the daughter of a family of magi. I can't put myself in her place no matter how hard I try. And you can thank Kiritsugu for that, for not, you know, instilling that kind of nonsense in your head. To be fair, you never could have gotten his crest, so it's a bit of a different circumstance. But even if you could have, he wouldn't have wanted you to have. In theory.
なあ、トサカ。もしかしてそれで俺を目の敵にしてたのか。魔術師としての心構えがなってないから。
Tosaka, is that why you consider me your enemy? Because I don't have the mindset of a magus? I don't think that's why. I think that's partially why she's so frazzled, but I think it's just you're in the Grail War, and you're up against each other, and, you know, pride of winning the Grail. At least on the surface. Really, though, she loves you and wants to save you.
そうよ。あなたのことは嫌いじゃないけど、魔術師としては認められないもの。
Okay, that's a flat-out lie. That's right. It's not that I hate you, but I can't approve of you. Because, you know, Shiro just told all this nonsense to you just now, and you're just now reacting it. So no, there's no way that's why she hated you all along. Oh, because or because I mean, he wasn't officially registered as a magus, so I suppose she could have had those reasons, but feels like she's just deflecting. Because she was given an easy thing to point at, instead of having to deal with her actual issues that she was hinting at just now.
だからそのつい気を据えるっていうか、
Oh
つ
gosh.
つきたくなったの。悪い？
You can taste the deflection. Oh. That's why to teach you a lesson. Is that bad? I mean, it's bad that you're lying to yourself, but, oh yeah, teach me a lesson. That's why you attacked me, to teach me a lesson. Sure, sure.
まあいや、悪いけど、忠告は助かった。
It is bad, but I appreciate your warnings.
今日のことがなかったら学校のマスターにも気づかなかったし、遠坂とも手を組めなかった。
That's an excuse. I wouldn't have noticed the master at our school if it wasn't for the thing today, and I wouldn't have been able to cooperate with you. You could have noticed the master at your school if Rin had just, you know, told you. If you had just started cooperating immediately. You did in the other timeline. I know Archer was injured, and so Rin's pride got in the way of doing it this time, but, like, you still could have just done it from the start. It really is an excuse. Shiro being understanding enough that he knows he can't fully emphasize with the waifu compared to the first timeline is a pretty interesting difference. It's true, they do have different mindsets. He's clearly emphasized... I mean, I understand why he's sympathizing. They do sort of have a bit of an alliance now. And Shiro clearly has the hots for him at this point, so he doesn't want to push any buttons. But I wonder if Shiro knows that what he's saying is a bit of a load of shit. I stare at her for affirmation. He's questioning it. So he doesn't know for sure. Or, I mean, I would know that it's a load of shit anyways. But, Tosaka ponders for a bit. Oh, you're pondering too? You're not just gonna affirm? Does that mean you're also questioning it? You also know it's a load?
もう、なんだってこんなのがセイバーのマスターなのよ。
Jeez, why is a guy like this Saber's master? Oh, it comes back to Saber. That seems like a deflection of the deflection. You don't want to answer hard yes to this because you know that that's not true. So you deflect another time. Double deflection. She complains about something strange. Oh hey, Shiro noticed that it was strange. Not on topic. We've been talking so long it's already gotten dark. It's almost 7 o'clock. Saber will get mad if I don't go home soon. Also, did you contact her at all? Ever? Because, I mean, Saber would have been waiting for you probably for school's end time, which is, I don't know what it is for you guys, 3, 4? Like, definitely you'd be home before now. I mean, I assume you would have contacted her mentally by now, if that's a thing you can do, which supposedly you can, but I feel like if you did, you would have done it on screen, or you'd be saying now how you did it off screen.
じゃあ、トサカ、マスター探しは学校でするんだな。
So, we'll look for the master at school? Are we not going to have a chit-chat with Archer? Maybe he just doesn't want to.
ええ。明日の放課後、廊下で待ち合わせましょう。
Oh, okay, it's settled. So again, I just have to trust that Ren's not going to betray me. And again, just leave Saber. Alright, Ren, you know. I have to really trust your honorness here. And you're going to have to be your own honorness. Because, like, once we beat them, then what? Then we go our separate... Is that your theoretical mindset? Once we beat him, then we go our separate ways? Or are you just lying to yourself with that? I wonder why Shiro's still holding off his information about Shinji. I mean, he does have the hot... It raises an interesting point. He clearly has the hots for her and wants to stay on her good side, and yet he thinks he knows the Shinji thing but doesn't want to say anything. Does he realize that maybe this alliance is tenuous, and that actually partially plays into why he wouldn't want to say anything? I understand the idea that he wouldn't want... he hopes it's not true that Shinji is the master and that he cannot have any Sakura nonsense. But, the fact that he's not at least saying it might be true. Interesting. We'll meet in the hallway after school tomorrow. Shiro might just, maybe still want to suss out the Rin situation because he's still, even though he's a bit smarter, he might not be the best at sussing out his own hormones. And this gives him a chance to do that, which is fair.
ああ、それと帰りはアーチャーをつけてあげる。私はやることがあるから送ってあげられないけど、アーチャーがいれば問題ないでしょ。
Oh, I'll have Archer guard you on your way home. I can't walk you home since I have things to do, but Archer's good enough, right? Be lucky that he doesn't snipe me out of nowhere. Cheese and crackers. I wonder what Archer will have to say about this. I thought we would walk home together and it'd be all cutesy. But is Rinmore saying that, is she telling the truth that she has things to do? Probably. She is rather busy because Archer is still active and all that. She's mentally prepped to keep moving on things. She wants me to be walked home. She doesn't want to go to my home. Is she still calling me Emiya? Has she switched to Shiro yet? I think she's still calling me Emiya, right? I don't know. I assume so. I'll watch for the Shiro. Maybe I'm wrong. But, maybe she still doesn't fully consider herself, mentally she hasn't considered herself in the relationship yet. And so she doesn't want to go to a master's house because she still considers them the enemy and thinks it's too risky on some level. Is that the statement here, or is that she's actually busy? And also, she said she has things to do. Are these things going after other masters? Because if they are, why wouldn't they go together? That'd be more her looking out for Shiro, not wanting to get involved in anything but the school thing, which is still more playing the protect the Shiro. I've only heard Emiya-kun in this stream. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I don't think she's switched to Shiro yet. I definitely noticed there was a noticeable switch to Shiro in Timeline 1 once they started their alliance. But I don't think Rin is mentally there yet because Archer's still in the picture. So I'm still going to be listening for the change. I realize I've been forgetting about it all along. This is Tosaka's house, so it's not strange for Archer to be here. Sup? Dash, 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 dash. The knight in red, Archer takes form. Ellipses. Come to think of it, this is the first time I've actually faced him. Up close, I suppose. Is it like looking into a mirror? Look, he's got a red getup just like you, only the red getup for you is on your head. The man that almost got his head cut off by Saber that night. Interesting that you seem to know that. I mean, well, he didn't quite get his head cut off in the other one either. He just got a big wound, but... The man that tried to shoot Saber along with Berserker. Ellipses. Is it because of such things? I face him and instinctively I feel that... What? I hate him. We got that same thing from Timeline 1, too. You seem to hate him. And he hates you as well. Is it because you know he's you from the future that you're not a fan of? I don't know. I probably will never be able to accept him. But will you be forced to accept him? Dash. Oh man, the clock is so eerie in this scene. It must be the same for Archer as he stares at me with enmity. Heh, I appreciate that. If he hates me, I can hate him back without holding back. Just make out already. I can sympathize with that feeling. When you kind of dislike someone, you almost want them to dislike you back to feel not guilty for disliking them even more, which is a very unhealthy mindset, mind you. But it feels good in the moment. Whereas when they try to, when they try to meet you, when they try to fix the bridges and act all nice and stuff, it makes you feel all gross. Like, oh, don't be nice. I want to dislike you. Which, it's better for them to be nice so that you can calm down and then maybe meet them halfway. You shouldn't want to dislike people, but it can feel good in the moment. Shiro's only felt that way about another person, Kirei. Oh, the instant disdain? I suppose, which I talked about this in Timeline 1, right? The idea that these are all different potential future versions of Shiro. The Kiritsugu and the Archer seem to have parallels. Kirei... that's right. The idea that it seems like Shiro in the future might be like a Kiritsugu or an Archer, but he's actually more of a Kirei, in theory, if he goes down that route and keeps going down that route. But in the end, I think that in itself was a subversion. He's more... Oh, and Saber. There's the Saber parallel as well. A bunch of parallels of where his life could go, directionless, as it were. But... I think ultimately, in theory, if Archer really is where his life is going, that is a question. Is it literally? Where does the hate come from still? Because Shiro is smarter in this timeline, so it has to make me do a double take. Because in Timeline 1, it was a bit different. In Timeline 1, I could accept the idea that, Archer is the pessimistic version that the father before he was good and stuff that Shiro doesn't want to be, and Shiro was the stupid that Archer didn't like. Now Shiro is theoretically smarter, so this disdain that comes in inherently anyway is tied more to just that aspect of Shiro being an idiot. So it's interesting that it's still there so inherently. If anything, it feels stronger. Maybe that I'm imagining things, but maybe Shiro realized he's even closer to Archer than he was in the other timeline, and it makes him even more uncomfortable. Quite possibly. Or there could, again, be that subtle link of, oh, he's me from the future and he tried to kill Saber. How dare he? I don't know. Possible.
よろしくね、アーチャー。彼とは協力関係になったから、襲いかかったりしちゃダメよ。
Please do your best, Archer. We're cooperating now, so don't attack him. Yes, pretty pleased with cherries on top. Don't attack him. Him being me.
分かっている。マスターの指示には従うさ。
I know. I will follow my master's orders. Ooh, and she gets blushy. Archer disappears. Did that make you feel good to say out loud, Ren? We're cooperating now, so don't attack him? Why do you feel so good? To say it out loud that you're cooperating me to another person makes you feel good, maybe? Since he can't go out there dressed like he is, it must mean he'll guard me in spirit form. I walk through the night town. It's still 7 o'clock, so I still see people around. So what is Rin doing in the meantime? She said she has things to do. But, like, what? If it's something that involves confronting other masters, theoretically I should get involved. In which case, if she's not getting me involved, it's because she wants to protect me. But also, if she's doing something with other masters, then that's a big risk anyways, because she's doing it without her servant close by, which is hypocritical compared to what she told me before. But I think we've been over the idea that she wasn't so much doing it because she was annoyed at him taking being a master not seriously, but she was really just trying to protect him because she thought he wasn't competent enough to not get killed the way he was acting. But, yeah. With Shiro being smarter, though, he would potentially notice the hypocrisy if he knew that that's what she was doing. If that's what she's doing. Even research is risky without your servant. Wise, but... It's still 7 o'clock, so I still see people around. I don't think any guard is necessary, but I can't turn down her goodwill. Dash, dash. Maybe I should have refused, because it feels grody. My nerves are getting strained. There are goosebumps on my skin. I might throw up if I let my guard down. Dash, dash. I feel hostility from behind me. The invisible guard is watching out for the one he has to protect. Man, how is he a guard? The hostility I feel is definitely coming from the man behind me. He doesn't like you. I don't like you either. At least that would have been true in Timeline 1. I like you more now, Shiro. You're a cool bro. Archer, I think he's cool too, though. So, you know, just get along, cool kids. I love you both. Why can't you love each other?
This
is fine. It might end up like that night if you go any closer to my house. I tell the presence behind me. Archer doesn't answer. He just accepts my words and tries to leave. Wait, don't you have something you want to say? Why? What would he want to say? You actually want to engage in a conversation now, and you start the conversation by saying, don't you want to say something? Because you both dislike each other? You could be the one first to say why you dislike him. I glare at the invisible guy. The leaving presence stops. You glare at the invisible guy. You can just feel where he is. Are you feeling that with your, oh, it's just instincts of, oh, he dislikes me so much, I can just tell where he is based on that. They could use that bullshit reason, but more realistically, you're glaring at him because you're super awesome magic and you can just tell where he is. He appears with hostility still present.
見直したよ。殺気を感じ取れる程度には心得があるらしい。いや、てっきり虫も殺さない平和主義者だと思っていたが。
I have a better opinion of you. It seems you can at least feel hostility. Wow, I thought you were a pacifist who wouldn't even kill an insect. Pacifist is definitely not the right way to put it.
バカにすんな。これでも魔術師だぞ、俺は。相手がやる気だって言うんなら、いくらでも相手になる。
Don't mock me. I'm a magus. If my enemy wants to fight, I'll fight back. He says that, but Rin said she wanted to fight. I think Shiro, though, is a decent judge of character, and he could tell on some level Rin didn't really want to fight. I confront the knight in red. He smiles as if to make fun of me and shrugs his shoulders.
たわけたこと。血の匂いがしない魔術師など半人前だ。
Don't be ridiculous. A magus that does not smell like blood is only a half-ass. You seem to talk a lot about maguses for being a servant who isn't, a caster. What do you know about maguses, good archer, sir?
七にそう教わらなかったのか、エミヤシロ。
Didn't you learn so from your teacher, Emiyashiro? It's true that Kiritsugu definitely, smelled of blood, as it were. Had a lot of blood on his hands. Whoa! My spirits weaken. If Archie was there listening to that whole conversation, he should have some idea of my teacher. Kiritsugu certainly said so. Oh. Magi are tinged with blood. Shiro, though, not so much so far. I mean, Shiro would argue, at least in Timeline 1, well, he wouldn't. He would pretend like it's not true. But deep down, not the deepest down, but deep down before you get to the deepest down, he would argue that all the blood of the people that sacrificed himself to save him, all the blood is on his hands. But, you know. It doesn't matter if you hurt or don't hurt anyone, this path is a path wet with blood. I mean, I feel it's hard to not hurt anyone. If you not hurt anyone, you're probably going to be the one getting hurt. He only killed one person in Timeline 1. Well, yeah, Kirei, of course. That was his turning point of the first time he was willing to believe that someone was lesser than him. Yeah. As far as being a human being that deserves to lives go. But in this timeline, I think he should be sensible enough to know that at least someone like Shinji also is lower on the totem pole. We'll see if they cross that bridge, but I feel like they will. That's why Kiritsugu told me not to be a magus.
俺からは血の匂いがしないっていうのか、お前は。
Are you saying you don't smell blood on me?
無論だ。その点においても、エミやシロはマスターに。
Of course not. You're not fit to be a master in that regard either. You're different from Rin. Mm-hmm. Not fit to be a master in that regard either. Question. Different from Rin, but how does Rin compare to my master? To be fair, when you first showed up, you didn't like Rin either. Was that the sexism of the... Definitely have a hard judging of masters on first glance, at least. Assuming, you know, you're not just me from the future past. You started off by being like, Rin, you're not fit. You need to prove to me you're fit. So you definitely have a pessimistic look of what qualifies to be a real master, in theory. What is that? Are you saying you can smell blood on Tosaka? Oh, Shiro takes offense to that for sure. He's like, Tosaka's pretty and I have a crush on her. There's no way.
するとも。あれはいささか甘すぎる嫌いはあるが、それでも手を下すときは容赦すまい。そうでなくては、連日マスターを探して街を巡回などしないさ。
Yes, she is rather kind-hearted, but she's merciless when she has to be. She wouldn't go around looking for other masters every day if that wasn't the case. You can make that argument, but she didn't kill anybody in Timeline 1. At least not in the course of the Grail War. Possibly beforehand, but she is, like you say, oh, she's kind-hearted, but she wasn't even planning to kill me. I don't know if you realize that, but she wasn't planning to kill me. She didn't really flinch much in Timeline 1 when she heard Shinji was dead, to be fair, but she was kind of a dick, so... Dash. Shiro's also being a bit more active, to be fair. I mean, yeah, he went to school. I guess he hasn't talked much to Saber about going around looking for masters, but before, when it's like, oh, part-time job, Shiro didn't say that he was, Shiro didn't, admit to turning down the part-time jobs because he wanted to keep them open to allow himself to look into the stuff more. Now, he hasn't done that. He's still just sort of going to school, sort of trying to keep to the day-to-day. But he kept the window open, even if he hasn't quite acted on it. I mean, he's technically acted on it by staying so late with Tosaka, but that was a sidetrack. She's looking for other masters every day? Indeed. That means she's fighting other masters. She already mentioned Castor. I don't know if you were paying attention, Shiro, but she already mentioned that she dealt with Castor. Assumed he was planning to go master searching after school, but the Aiko happened. Yeah, that seems... I mean, that's roughly what I was thinking, is that after the school day today, he was going to look for masters, but... not necessarily the Aiko thing, but... Well, the Aiko thing, yes. Which he didn't know was connected to masters, that's fair. more he ran into the Rin thing, but it's not like it's over once she finds a master. Then
じゃあ遠坂は今日みたいなことを毎日してるのか。
then she's doing something like what happened at school every day. The event at school. The same thing that happened in the woods today.
まさか今日のような低たらくは今回限りにしてほしいものだ。あれだけの意志と能力を持った魔術師がお前を相手にするとどうも年相応に戻ってしまう。
I think you misunderstood Shiro's question. That she's doing something like what happened at school every day? No, what happened at school, she was being rather stupid at school. She's usually smarter than that. Of course not. I wish today would be the only case. It seems my master of great skill in mind turns immature only when she's facing you. Indeed.
だいたい彼女の能力ならエミやシロと協力する必要などないのだ。
First of all, she doesn't need to cooperate with you with the skills she has. But she's cooperating anyway.
にもかかわらず余分なことをしている。私としては協力など反対なのだが、まあ仕方があるまい。サーバントはマスターに従うものだ。
But she's still doing meaningless things. I am against this cooperation. But, well, it cannot be helped. Servants obey their master. Indeed. I mean, to be fair though, from your mindset it's just, let's just kill Shiro and end it. But Rin never was planning to kill Shiro at this point, clearly. She was always just gonna force him out peacefully. That's why your minds are so distant in this regard.
そうだろ、エミやシロ。たとえマスターが役に立たない未熟者でも、サーバントは従わなければならないということだ。
Isn't that right, Emiyashiro? It means that a servant has to obey its master, even if he turns out to be a useless amateur. Is he talking about me and Saber? I mean, yeah. So he's clearly got a connection with Saber, but again, is that just, oh, he's me from the future past? There was the line of dialogue in the one flashback where it seemed to be Archer's voice in Saber's stuff. It's very possible, though, that, you know, Archer is still Shiro from the future past, and he just somehow ends up there anyways. But Archer clearly does have some kind of connection to Saber, some strong connection to Saber. Assume if Archer, killed Shiro, she would instantly command spell him to kill himself and then hook up with Saber. I mean, yeah. She would definitely not be happy about that. It would definitely be hard for her to deal with it, especially at this point. Especially at this point. Like, she said she was mentally prepared for Shiro to die, but it's hard to say if she really is. And I'm doubting that she is.
そうかよ。遠坂も気の毒だな。
I
お前
see.
みたいなひねくれ者と組まされてな。
I feel bad for Tosaka partnering with such a cynical guy.
まったく呆れる。まだそんなことを口にするのか。
Man, I'm stunned. Are you still saying such things? Why do you disagree? To you being cynical? It's true.
忠告するが、サーバントの性格など考慮するな。我らはただ戦うために呼び出されたもの。所詮サーバントは霊樹でつながれた道具に過ぎない。
This
支
fully
配権はお前たちにあるのだから。
fully goes
道具の
against
ざれ言など聞き流す。
fully goes against basically the entire Saber route, but I will warn you. Do not worry about your servant's personality. We're summoned only to fight. We're only a tool bound by the command spell. You guys have total control on us, so ignore what your tool has to say. Oh, Shiro would definitely not like that. And he's not going to like that. Archer has the exact opinion of Timeline 1 Shiro? You mean the exact opposite opinion? Because that's what Timeline 1 Shiro didn't want. You said exact opinion. You meant exact opposite opinion, I'm sure. Yeah. And Shiro's still not going to like that regardless, even though he was hardcore saber-sexual in Timeline 1. And that, yeah, is very much the exact opposite mindset. Shiro still thinks of Saber as a friend at this point, I think. I don't think, you know, he wants to win it for her benefit because she said she has a wish, so he's still thinking of her benefits, as it were. I can't tell him that that's not the case. Oh, you can't? What Archer, the one bound by the command spell, said is definitely true. Is it? Do you really agree? I can't think of Saber as a tool, but it's true that Saber is bound by the command spell. So you could theoretically use them as a tool if you so wished. You know, if you want to be gross about it.
で、呼び止めた要件は何だ？まさか親睦を深めようなどとふざけた理由ではあるまい。
So, why did you stop me? Do not tell me it's something as ridiculous as wanting to make friends with me. Dash, 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 dash. Ugh, what was it then, Shiro? I guess arguably it could be that. Maybe it was exactly that. Like, I want to be good friends with Rin, so I don't want any anonymity between us. I suppose. And then Archer's just gonna come and be like, I'm just some dumb servant. Doesn't matter what I say. If you're friends with Rin, you're friends with Rin. Fuck me, right? But he doesn't want to fuck Archer. Wait. I don't have a reason. I just didn't like him, so I wanted to complain to him. It seems like the complaining backfired, huh?
そうだ、あーちゃん、お前も聖杯が欲しいのか？
Oh yeah. You want the Holy Grail as well, right, Archer? I ask an obvious question in desperation. Then...
聖杯？はあ、人間の望みを叶えるという悪質な宝箱か。興味はないな。私の望みはそんなものでは叶えられまい。
Oh, the evil treasure chest that is said to grant wishes, huh? The evil treasure chest. So you seem to know how evil it is already. As if you've seen its evil for yourself because you're Shiro from the future, Pet. I'm not interested. My wish cannot be granted by a thing like that. And yeah, that's definitely not normal. Since according to our whole logic with Saber was that she's weird for not wanting to be a real person, since all servants normally, they're not the real servant, as it were. They explained how they're just a manifestation, that their only goal really is with the Grail War to become real and break themselves from just being an echo of the real version and become essentially a separate entity from what they're echoing. However, Saber is a real person that forced herself into the Grail War to get the Grail, you know, so that she would have it in the past and then also erase herself from existence. It's weird, but she's weird for not just wanting to make herself come to fruition or whatever. So the idea that Archer does not have a wish, doesn't want to make himself a real boy, is weird because the fact that Saber wants that is also supposed to be very weird. They went over that. The normal wish is just to make yourself a real boy because you're not really a real boy. You're just a pretend echo, and they want to make themselves not an echo anymore. The fact that you don't want that, yeah, I talked about how you seem to be very against Saber specifically winning, from what I noticed, is that you really didn't like the idea of Saber winning, as if you knew Saber and you knew she had a bad wish and didn't want it to come true. Because maybe you're from an alternate timeline where her bad wish did come true, and it was terrible and awful. I talked about this, right? The idea that, it's possible that, oh, he could be like the primer Saber. Like, he went through this whole thing, made the wish come true, made himself a servant, and then Saber ended up replacing him as the king, and now Saber is trying to go through the same thing, but Archer's still a permanent servant because he signed in the Grail War just like Saber did, theoretically, and so now he's just trying to prevent the same loop from happening. That's another option, if he's not just Shiro from the future past. But he clearly isn't just an echo at that point. Archer, Shiro from an alternate universe where King Arthur wasn't her. That's also possible. Again, there could be cross streams. It could be that Shiro and Archer are like the same person somehow, but at the same time there is different dimension timeline whiny stuff going on, and maybe it relates to it, you know, he's clearly connected to King Arthur. And he seems to not like her wish. It feels like it's not even that he's necessarily trying to win. If anything, he just specifically doesn't want Saber to win. Because he's saying himself that he doesn't want the Grail. So why the fuck are you even fighting if you don't want the Grail? You say you have a wish. So what's your wish? That Saber properly character develops, maybe? Saber gets to live, doesn't have to have the bad ending that she arguably had at the end of Timeline 1. I mean, it wasn't the worst ending for her, but... it was a healthy ending, but you can't really call it a good ending. Your wish, huh? The Knight in Red declares contemptuously.
なんだって。
What? And yeah, the idea of the Grail being evil is sort of a big plot twist. So the fact that he's just casually giving it away, again, you know, we've seen the first timeline, so it's fine, but the fact that he knows the plot twist of the Grail being evil is certainly an interesting point. That's contradictory. Servants desire the Holy Grail. Isn't that why they answer the call of the Magus and become servants? Rin did a weird summoning circle, so he was probably summoned from like an alternate reality or something. Some different conditions. Or summoned from, you know, the future. Because they talked about, they went out of their way to say, oh, the spirits could be summoned from the past, the present, even the future. So is he from the future? Alternate timeline and future? Alternate future Shiro timeline.
待て、おかしいぞお前。なら、なんでサーバントになんてなってんだよ。
Wait, what's with that? Then why are you a servant?
成り行き上仕方なくだ。
It could not be helped over the course of the event. It could not be helped? It was inevitable? You're a servant because you had to be a servant? Loop logic? When you were growing up, you were Archer was Rin's servant, so when you got older, Rin summoned you because you're Shiro Archer?
私に自由意志などない。お前はサーバントが自らの意志で呼び出しに応じているとでも思っているのだろうがな。
I do not have free will. You must think we're answering the call by choice. Uh-huh. Interesting. If Rin had a deep connection to Shiro from before, or really liked him for some reason from before, and messed up the timing, maybe that would go into why when she casts the summon circle, or casts the summoning, she ends up calling in Shiro. Just, you know, an alternate, different dimension Shiro, because, you know, she has that weird connection to Shiro. There's some logic there, right? But, it's interesting, especially because Rin herself says she doesn't really have a wish. And then Archer is like, I don't have a wish, and yet they're still fighting. Like, for Rin, it's pride. You say you have something more in mind, and you seem to have something with Saber, but beyond making sure Saber doesn't win, maybe, what is there? In Timeline 1, you were content to let Saber and Shiro continue on, which again suggests to me the notion that, like, you were willing to help out and sacrifice yourself, which suggests to me the notion that maybe you like Saber, but think her wish is bad, or you like Shiro, but don't like the direction his life is going in, but you still want them to continue on. So there's that notion of liking one or both of them, but not liking the direction of one or both of their lives. Is the reason the clocks were messed up in the prologue due to time messery? Maybe there was some alternate timeline shenanigans, possibly. I thought that was just because the reason they were messed up was because of her father's thingamajigger that she was trying to open her will, and like it caused the timey-wimey stuff to be messed up, and she forgot to set it back. Maybe she like pushed herself into an alternate reality when she did that. I don't know. Nande? No, it's not Nande. Nande doesn't work there. I'm sorry, it is Nani. Don't have free will? Does that mean he was called against his will even though he doesn't want the Holy Grail?
幸せな男だ。本当に考えたことはなかったのか?
How stupid of you. Did you really not think about it?
いいか。サーバントとは呼び出されるものだ。
Look, a servant is one that is summoned.
いいな。英霊とはすべて自らの意志ではなく、
No.
他者の意志によって呼
Heroic
び出される。
spirits are summoned not of their own will, but by the will of others.
過去の功績によって英霊となり、以後は人々の間で語り継がれ、その支えになるもの。
We become heroic spirits because of our achievements, and we become support for people in the future. You have to be in some way a real person, though, or something, right? Because if you were just a random servant, you would want the Grail in theory, right? I'm just thinking about this because if he was, I was thinking one way that he looks so different from Shiro, if he is Shiro from the future, it could just be, again, he gets tanned and gets white hair from stress, not impossible. But, I was thinking that these servants are supposed to, if they were just an echo, they're based on the idea of the person rather than necessarily the actual person, even if there was a real person. So theoretically, if Shiro had a servant based on him, if this was just the image people had in their minds of him, it could theoretically be true. But again, then he would just be an Echos, which kind of goes against this notion of him. He says he doesn't have free will, but he has more will than it seems most servants have. Become heroic spirits because of our achievements. And become support for people in the future.
だが、その当の英霊自身が心の底から人間の助けになりたい
But do you
などと
think
思っ
that
ていると、
heroic spirits would really wish to be aid to humans? Why wouldn't they? If they're heroic spirits, it means they save people, right? So wouldn't they want to save more people? What are you getting at?
いや、それは。
Well, that is... I don't know. If they're called heroic spirits, they should be pure. Hero to one person is a villain to another. That's why I imagine them protecting people, but that's not the case for a lot of the servants I've encountered. Heroic spirits just means that people admired you. There can be a lot of bad people that could admire you, so... Normal heroic spirits just send echoes in the wars, but Archer was actually forced into it. Yeah, there's that notion, is that normally it's an echo, but again, he can't just be a regular echo based on the fact that he doesn't want the Grail. It seems like, from my understanding of how this works, because Saber is like she's already, she's got this weird self-fulfilling mumbo-jumbo prophecy. But the idea that he himself was fully called is interesting. It begs the question of why it might have to do with the timey-wimey messed up stuff that he himself as a spirit was called instead of an echo.
そうだ。もともと英霊というものに意志などない。
That's right. Heroic spirits do not have a will. They merely follow the will of the people.
英霊となったものは以後ただ人間を守る力として置かれるだけだ。
Heroic spirits are there just to protect the people. Uh-huh. And you don't like that. Heroic spirit, you don't like the responsibility? Oh, that parallels with Rin, because we talk about how masters and servants parallel, right? That parallels how Rin secretly doesn't like the responsibility she has. And now you're saying you don't like the responsibility the heroic spirits have, you just want to be free? Is that what you're getting at? And you don't think the Grail can do that because you know the Grail is a load of evil boobies. But why do you know it's evil boobies? Like, it's one thing if you want to have your own free will, but the fact that you seem to know the Grail is evil boobies. Like, it'd be different if, that would even more so be why you'd want to wish for the Grail to maybe give you the free will, but you don't, because you know it's evil. Heroic spirits, I see. So, you became a hero. Theoretically, you could have become a heroic spirit and been forced to protect people, but you just wanted to be a normal dude. Just because you save people doesn't mean you wanted to become a heroic spirit. Which would definitely give some parallels to Saber, and maybe be why there's some sympathization there. Possibly. Maybe that's why, if he's Shiro from the future past, maybe he doesn't like Shiro very much, because Shiro's on the route to become the hero that gets forced to protect people. But again, I've argued already that Shiro doesn't really want to be a hero. He's lying to himself just for the responsibility that Kiritsugu gave onto him. And so maybe that's why he gets so cynical, is that he ends up sort of succeeding in being the hero and becomes a heroic spirit, and then he doesn't like it, and it's like, well, fuck this. I mean, I liked helping people that are my friends, but I don't want to be a regular hero. I never wanted that. And that's why he dislikes Shiro from the past future? Hello, Zekuto. Ah.
何かこちらで不都合があった場合のみ呼び出され、その後始末をして消えるだけの存在。
We're only summoned when there are inconveniences, and we disappear after we finish our remedial measures.
あるがないもの。人の世の危機を救おうが、誰にも認識されないもの。
We're beings that should not exist. We're not recognized even if we save the world. Okay, I can see why Shiro and Archer would come at odds then, just inherently. Because Archer's like, heroes are stupid and stuff, and they don't get proper recognition. Which is the selfish outlook. But Shiro's like, I want to be a hero. Which is why he might feel gross about Archer being all like, heroes are stupid.
それが英霊。守護者と呼ばれる都合のいい存在だ。
These are the heroic spirits, the ones of convenience that are called the Guardian. But there's all that responsibility that you don't want. But Shiro wanted to become a hero when he grows up. No, Zakuto, I started Fate forever ago, and I've just been constantly going. There was definitely no hiatus. Har 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 har. No, I definitely took a long break for because COVID stuff. I also took a break between playthroughs, but so it was kind of a double break. Anyways, the ones of convenience that are called the Guardian, these are the heroic spirits.
なってしまったが最後、意志を剥奪され、永遠に人間のために働き続ける掃除屋に過ぎん。
It is all over once we become one. Our wills are taken away. Okay. What? One that is summoned only disappear. Heroic spirits are tools without a will?
そんなはずはない。セイバーもお前もちゃんと意志があるじゃないか。そりゃ自分の意志とは無関係に呼び出されたかもしれないけど、それでもこっちに出てきてからの選択肢はあるんじゃないのか。
That can't be true. You and Saber have a will. You might have been summoned against your will, but don't you have a choice after you're summoned? Well, I mean, Rin used a command spell to be like, absolute obedience, so...
セイバーだってやりたくないことはやらないって突っぱねるし。
Saber's saying she won't do things that go against her will.
当然だろう。我々はサーバントだ。誰が作ったシステムだか知らんが、この戦いはよくできている。
Of course, we're servants. I don't know who made this system, but this war is well structured. You don't know who made this system? Acting as if there's some greater entity beyond just the Grail itself of Hooba Dooba Dooba?
本来、本体からの触覚でしかない英霊に形を与え、本体そのものとして刺激するのだからな。
It gives form to what should only be a part of the main body, and we are summoned as the real heroic spirits.
サーバントという殻を与えられた英霊は、その時点で元の人間性を取り戻せる。かつての執念、かつての無念とともにな。
As heroic spirits are given bodies, we can regain our humanity with them, along with our former desires and grudges. Also, he only makes it through like 4 dex boxes a stream because he won't stop rambling about his nonsense. I mean, 4 text boxes. We could go at that pace if you really want to. No, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to go that slowly. We're servants. I don't know who made this system. It gives form to what should only be part of the main body. Summoned as the real heroic spirits. Not really the real ones, though. Regain our humanity with them. Our former desires and grudges. And yet you're saying that there's no free will. Is that play into why we're summoned to masters with a similar nature anyways, so that we'd never want to go against what they'd want to do anyways. So they would never end up going against them anyways. Is that what you're getting into, or what?
故にサーバントは聖杯を求めるのだろうよ。
That is why servants seek the Holy Grail. Huh. Yeah, that is interesting. You did point out why. It's differentiating servants and because he's saying servants seek the Holy Grail, which is true. But, you know, then there's the whole heroic spirits thing. Has he been referring to himself as heroic spirits? Heroic spirits don't have a will. They're just there to protect the people. As if he's saying he's a heroic spirit and not a servant? But heroic spirits are just servants? Although here he says a servant is one that is summoned. Heroic spirits are summoned. Oh, he changed it. He stopped himself. Heroics are summoned not of their own will, by the will of others. As if, oh, because he changed it because servants are summoned for the Grail War, but heroic spirits are summoned just in general to, you know, protect the world. Is that what you mean, Archer? You really think that heroic spirits really wish to be aid to humans? If they're called heroic spirits, just there to protect the people. We are and he calls himself we are only summoned when there are inconveniences. He is referring to himself as a heroic spirit. That's true. We disappear after we finish our remedial. We're beings that should not exist, not recognized. Da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Heroic spirits are tools without a will. You and Saber saying, blah, 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 blah. Of course, we are servants. Okay, he calls himself a servant too, though, but is that, I don't know who made this system. That is why a servant should seek the Holy Grail. Ramblings! How much of it really matters? Is it just the same thing and there's no matter difference? Heroic spirits are given a body. We can regain our humanity with them, along with our former desires and grudges.
聖杯を得れば叶わなかった無念を晴らせるだろうし、短い時間であれ人間としてこの世界にとどまれるのだから。
The Holy Grail should be able to fulfill our desires, and it will allow us to stay in this world as humans, even if it may be for a short while. I love the far-off theories and analysis. Me too, that's why I make them. The Holy Grail should be able to fulfill our desires.
人間としてとどまれる
Stay here as a human. Exactly. That's what I've been saying, Archer, before. But you're saying that you don't want that. Because you know things and stuff. Because you're not normal. That must mean they can be set free as an individual, not a servant. As if the servant aspect is because they're just an echo. Maybe that's what makes them a servant. And the real heroic spirit isn't a servant? Is that the idea? That it's the Grail War versions that are servants, and so they make themselves real boys so they don't have to be, you know, tied to the servant echo role? To add, the Holy Grail has powers to grant wishes. If it allows them to grant the wishes they had before they died, it's natural for servants to cooperate with their master. That's right, how far off are they? So the Holy Grail must be a miracle for the servants as well.
なんでそこまでのものなんでお前はいらないって言うんだ叶えられなかった願いを叶えられるしサーバントでなくなることだってできるっていうのに
How can you say you don't need such a thing? You can fulfill a wish you couldn't make come true. And you can even quit being a servant.
単純な話だ。
It's a simple story. Are you going to tell me the story?
私には叶えられない願いなどなかった。
I did not have a wish I could not make come true. Oh, so you satisfied all your wishes. Good for you. I mean, there is some parallels to Shiro now here. Because Shiro was like, he had the big wish of maybe going back and stopping the fire, but he's like, no, I don't want to go back. I want to focus on the present and the future. So maybe there's a similar idea of, oh, I could wish myself to be a real boy. But what would that accomplish? Because, you know, Saber, the whole her wishing herself be a real girl, this is all assuming the Grail isn't evil anyways. But of course, if the Grail's evil, this all gets thrown out the window anyways, which he seems to know, I think. But if the Grail isn't evil, then theoretically, he could be hearkening back to how Saber wanted to be or rather, Shiro wanted Saber to be a real girl, but realized that was unhealthy. And so he himself no longer wants to be a real boy. But again, that implies he's a real boy. Because if he's not a real boy, he wouldn't know to not want to be a real boy.
他の連中とは違う。私は望みを叶えて死に、英霊となった。
I am different from others. I made my wish came true, died, and became a heroic spirit. What is your wish that you made come true? Oh, you know, that sounds a little like Shiro, arguably. At least Timeline 1 Shiro. Because Timeline 1 Shiro, we talked about how he's kind of probably was a Death Seeker. And there might be a little bit of that in Timeline 2, but I think he's mostly shed it. Yeah, the idea that he wanted to save someone and then die peacefully once he felt like there was no more responsibility on him, once he succeeded in, saving someone important. So there's the idea that, oh, maybe he saved someone important, died, and then became the heroic spirit. But of course, it can't just be that simple from Timeline 1 version, because he wouldn't have had enough praise on him to be made a heroic spirit, at least not without wishing on the Grail. But then maybe there is some Grail funky nunkiness, because if we are doing Timeline 2 chronologically, if the Grail is messing with us, then maybe that has to... Maybe there's a connection there, and that, yet again, we seem to have crazy superpowers, which, how do we have those? Maybe there is a connection there, somehow. Yeah, dying to escape the responsibility to fuck time more, you definitely become more cynical. So maybe there's something there with us being superly secret servants, but also Archer. That's why I keep saying future past. That's why I don't keep saying, oh yeah, Archer is Shiro from the future, because, like, it's more than that, because it seems like Shiro's also secretly somehow superpowered already. So it's not just in the future that he becomes super special awesome. He's already somehow super special awesome. That's why I keep saying from the future past. But, because it might be a looping cycle thing, I don't know.
故に叶えたい望みなどないし、人としてここに留まることにも興味はない。それはお前のサーバントも同じだろうさ。
That is why I don't have any wishes, nor do I wish to stay here as a human. That must be the same for your servant. Oh, you assume it's the same because you know she's also a real girl? How much do you know? The answer is no, you're wrong. Saber does have a wish, at least she did in Timeline 1. It's very unhealthy. It's not to make herself stay here, though. It's a different wish.
バカ言うな。セイバーは聖杯が必要だって言ったんだ。お前みたいに目的がなくてサーバントをやってるわけじゃない。
Don't be stupid! Saber said she needed the Holy Grail. She's not like you, who's being a servant without any objective. No, yeah, but her wish is very unhealthy, though, so...
私の
My
目
objective?
的
Ooh. What is your objective, huh? Archer murmurs. Dash, dash, dash. What's your objective, Archer? What is it? Why are you here? What are you doing? What's your goal? Why is it? It's just a normal murmur, but a chill runs through me. What is your objective? Are you the reason Shiro's going through timeline malarkey, maybe? Maybe if you're, like, again, the theory that maybe he's timeline 1 Shiro at an alternate bad ending route, maybe? The idea that after a long time his death wish comes true, but in a big heroic way, and he gets accepted as a heroic spirit, sort of, and then somehow gets pulled back, and then fixes his past version so that Shiro goes down a different route? I mean, does Archer know his past at this point is the question, because when Saber showed up, it really shook him. So the question is, did he get all his memories back at that point? Did he get some of his memories back, but not all of them? So there's the question. If Shiro is Archer from the past, does Archer know that Shiro is Archer from the past right now? Or does he not know that? Is he just working off instinct right now? Or whoever he is in the past. Does he know? It's just a normal murmur, but a chill runs through me.
目的があろうとなかろうと同じだ。
It's the same even if you have or don't have an objective.
気になるのならば問いただしてみるがいい。セイバーの目的は聖杯でありながら決して聖杯を自分のためには使わない。
Yep.
そういった意味であれは典型的な守護者。
You're not wrong.
文字通り奴隷なのだ。
It's the same even if you have or don't have an objective. Ask your servant if you're curious. Saber's objective is to obtain the Holy Grail, but she will not use it for herself. Maybe you don't have your memories and you're only getting them back in pieces. And maybe that's why you're like, huh, what is my objective? And you're trying to remember your actual life? Possibly? Ask your servant if you're curious. Saber's objective is to obtain the Holy Grail, but she will not use it for herself. In that regard, she is an ideal guardian. She is literally a slave. And given the unhealthiness of her wish, that is not far off from the truth.
そのことを
Remember this.
彼女のマスターであるのなら決して忘れないことだ。
If you are to be her master, do not forget this. Is that your way of saying steer her away from the unhealthiness? Because will do. I would totally be down to do that. His presence disappears. Great. So it seems like Archer doesn't have a wish that we can tell. Rin doesn't really have a wish. Shara doesn't really have a wish. And our goal is to make it so Saber doesn't have a wish. So yes. Hooray for not having a wish. Granted, we now know that the Grail's kind of fucking fuckery, so maybe the ultimate goal is for nobody to win. I don't know. Heavy fucking words there, Archer. Heavy words indeed, yes. The Knight in Red talks cynically until the very end and leaves.
Tadaima.
I'm home. So if we're to talk for a second again about what if Archer's not Shiro, and I'm gonna humor that idea for a second. What does it mean? Clearly, he's got a past. He talked about how he had amnesia. There's got to be a plot twist related to Archer. Otherwise, there's no point for them to again be building all this so much. So who is he then? Because they're hiding his identity. And it's not just hiding his identity in a normal way. They even hid it from Rin at the beginning. So if he's not just Shiro from the future past, the question is, who is he? And the further we go without really a hint of who he could be, the more it's going to seem likely to me that he's just Shiro from the future past. Because there is the idea that he's someone connected to Saber, because we saw him talking to Saber in like a flashback scene in Timeline 1, so it's possible maybe he is related in some way, like he's one of the other knights. There's an idea there, but if he is just one of the other knights, who? And why does it matter? Like, what is special about him? What is the plot twist really saying? If he's just, he was next Knight X or Y, why does that matter? If he's Shiro, it matters. So that's why the further we get along and the less hints we get for anything the plot twist to be other than he's just Shiro from the future past, the more my mind is going to center on he's just Shiro from the future past. Again, I could be wrong, but I feel like if I am wrong, there's going to be stronger hints of something else for the plot twist to suggest that he is sooner rather than later. We did hear his voice there. It's possible that maybe there was like a war or a summoning during that time, and that he was just acting as a servant and he wasn't necessarily a real person during that time. In fact, that seems likely, given that he seemed to understand where Saber was going. Maybe he understood the importance, assuming that I'm home. Even though I don't feel like it, I follow my habit as I go into my house. I feel liveliness from the living room. I bet Fujine is watching TV and Sakura's preparing dinner. Alright, so we're not done, but I think I will go ahead and I'll make a save There's actually no music, so it's convenient timing. And I think we'll take a little bit of a breaky wakey. But, Archer, who are you really? Oh, real. E. Add a Y at the end. Or, no, add an E. Who are you, real E? I feel a liveliness from the living room. I bet Fujine is watching TV and Sakura's preparing dinner. But what about Saber? Saber, is she in the living room? No. Dash. I recall Archer's words and shake my head. If Archer is from the future of Shiro's Timeline 1 mentality, then that would definitely be a reason for there to be so much hate. Like, there would be some hate in Timeline 1 with Shiro being like, I'm definitely not going to be you in the future, and you're going to be like, oh, you're a little shit, I remember when it was you in the past. But then Timeline 2, there would arguably be more hate, because Shiro actually isn't going to be him in the future, and it's like, ew. And then Archer would be more hate, because it's like, wait, what? How do you get to... I don't know, just throwing shit out there. I recall Archer's words and shake my head. I don't know what he wanted to say, nor do I want to know. It feels like it feels like the disdain. There was disdain there in Timeline 1, but I think it's arguably stronger now. Nor do I want to know. It's stuck in my head and it won't go away. A familiar called a servant. His honest opinion, scorning heroic spirits as mere cleaners. That's funny, because when if memory serves, when he was summoned by Tosaka, one of the first things she wanted him to do was clean up the place after it got all wrecked because she summoned improperly. And I guess that's the fate that he ultimately hates, but he was okay with it because it's Ren, though. And I guess he kind of likes Ren. But how much does he like her? You're late, Tom. I'm sorry. You're late. Welcome home, senpai. Oh, it's good to have more Sakura. She's not just jutted out of the timeline pathway like she was in Timeline Pathway 1. But where's Saber? What is she doing?
ただいま。遅くなってすまない。晩飯どのくらい進んでる?
I'm home. I'm sorry I'm late. How much of dinner's done?
はい、まだ始めたばかりです。でも、先輩のお手を借りることはないと思いますよ。今晩のメニュー、藤村先生のリクエストでシチューなんです。
Started preparing, but I don't think I need your help. We're having stew tonight at Fujimura Sensei's request. Why would you request stew? How dare you?
そうか。そりゃ確かに手伝えないかな。
I see. There's certainly nothing I can help with. Looking, I see that everything's been cut up already. Knowing how good Sakura is, I bet all she has left to do is cook it.
セイバーは今にはいないようだけど。
Where's Saber? I don't see her in the living room.
セイバーさんでしたら和室の方で眠っています。
Uh-oh.
先輩が帰ってきたら起こしてほしいと言っていましたけど。
That would definitely feel a bit weird from... I mean, there's the aspect of, oh, Sakura doesn't even really want Shiro acknowledging her because, you know, waifu battle. But there's also the idea that, oh, Saber only cares to be awake when Shiro's around. Saber-san is sleeping. She said she wanted to be woken up when you come home.
セイバー、もしかして怒ってたか?
Was Saber mad? She probably felt that you were having some cooties. Or no, she wouldn't have, because if she did, she would have come over? I don't know.
そんなことはなかったと思いますよ。セイバーさん、いつもキッとしてますから。
I don't think so. Saber-san always has sharp eyes. Is that why Shiro never mentally contacted Saber? He didn't want to wake her up? There's that, I suppose. I guess it's easier to have a conversation in person than a mental conversation. In theory, the mental conversation would drain the energy, so maybe don't waste it. But at the same time, Saber was waiting for him to come back, so I could see why she'd be angry. because the longer you make her wait after school, you know, the more she might be stressed out about it. To be fair, she'd know if he wasn't any immediate danger, but still, it's very again, it's only a very immediate danger. It'd be possible for him to be like kidnapped and taken far away, and she wouldn't necessarily feel until his life was immediately in danger, right? So there's like loopholes in there. So I think it's still important to, you know, call home, as it were, if it's past curfew and you know you're not gonna, you know, be there. If Sakura's hesitating to say it, it must mean Saber's really mad. It's only natural, though, since I broke our promise of coming home before dark. Yeah.
や、おかえりしろ。セイバーちゃん怒ってたよ。帰ってきたら道場で話があるって。
Maybe she wants to kick your butt in there. Oh, welcome home, Shiro. Saber-chan was really mad. Okay, of course, Taiga just bees blunt about it. Just bees. She said she wanted to talk to you in the dojo after you got home. Fujine says something really scary while she munches on a mandarin. Mandarin? Like a Mandalorian? Still haven't seen it. Heard good things, but you know, I don't have that Disney Plus thing. And I don't pirate shows. I mean, what do you take me for?
藤ね、なんかセイバーに変なこと吹き込んだりしてないだろうな。その約束を破ったやつは道場でしないうちの刑だとかなんとか。
Fujine, you didn't happen to tell Saber weird things, right? Like a person who breaks a promise should be punished by getting beaten with a shinai? What, did frickin' Taiga do that with Shiro when he was younger or something? I mean, I could see her doing that, but also that's a little messed up, but I could see her doing it.
したよ。うちは体育会系だから容赦なくやっちゃっていいって。
Okay, you straight. So that means that's probably. I assume Shiro might have been joking based on, you know, Taiga being that, you know, kind of a physical person. But no, straight up, Taiga probably did that herself in the past. That says some things about things. I did tell her. I told her she doesn't need to hold back. Wow. Dash, 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 dash. I see. So my enemies aren't just other masters. There's another one hiding here as well.
つかぬことを聞くけどな。藤ね、セイバーを道場に連れて行ったのか？稽古するなら市内を使えって。
Can I ask you something? Did you take Saber to the dojo? Did you tell her to use a shinai if she wanted to train?
うん。さっき軽く手合わせしたんだけど、あの子とんでもないわよ。剣道を知らないくせに、私以上に剣道家っぽいんだもん。
Yeah, we fought a bit.
向こうでフェンシングでもやってたの？
But she's amazing. I'm remembering their fight in Timeline 1. In that one, though, Taiga was more fighting for Kiritsugu's honor. In this one, Taiga is more accepting of, because there it was more, oh, I have to look out for Shiro, I have to be his guardian. Here it's more, oh, she's just a friend. And so Taiga's more accepting of her as a, you know, pal kind of thing. She doesn't know kendo, but she seems more like a swordsman than I do. Does she do fencing or something? Something like that.
いや、フェンシングはやってないと思う。どっちかっていうと、藤ねとキャラが被る。
I don't think she does. I think she's more like you, at least more like her than like fencing. I guess that's fair. Look how she swings around a big sword unmatched to her size. You don't know the size of her sword, it's invisible! And the big sword Excalibur you haven't seen yet, so... And now she attacks enemies like a wild animal.
いや、自業自得として観念しよう。
Well, I'll accept the punishment since it's my fault. Even when you don't ask to, play practice swords, you're gonna get some practice anyway, Shiro.
それより藤ね、三綴りのことだ。あいつ家に帰ってるのか？
Wishful thinking. It's not gonna be true. Although you're asking so casually, maybe it will be. That would be a very big surprise for me, to be honest. I assume Shinji has her as like a sex slave. By the way, about Mitsuzuri, do you know if she's home or not?
え、なんでシロが知ってるのよ。三綴さんのことは知らされていないはずよ。
Hopefully Sakura can't hear this. Huh? Do you know about that? How do you know about that? I didn't know the news got out.
まあ、生徒会室で盗み聞きしたんだ。それで、どうなんだよ。三綴見つかったのか？
I heard about her in the student council room. So, how is it? Did anyone find Mitsuzuri? I almost hope the answer is no. Because if the answer is yes, then she probably had some weird ticking time bomb thing placed on her, like some spell by Shinji that it activates at a certain moment to make her turn into a mind-controlled zombie. I don't know. I stare at Fujine. Okay, the answer is probably no, she hasn't been found then. Unless it's yes, she was found and she's dead. Please say that's not true. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't make those serious eyes like, you know, you could just casually say no, she hasn't been found. You don't have to say anything stupid. Taiga. I owe her a debt. I have to pay back her debt. I barely seen her in this timeline after seeing her even less in the last timeline. Don't you say it. Don't you give me those she's dead eyes. Fujine's a teacher, even if she may not seem like one. She keeps quiet about things she shouldn't talk about, and I'm sure she'd tell a lie to comfort a student. But I'm not just a student. I'm Mitsuzuri's good friend, and, you know, I'm the person you're guarding, as it were. So I have to stare at her to notice any changes while I ask about Mitsuzuri. Oh, no. If there's any changes that, you know, can't just be talked about, then that sounds like a bad change. Maybe it's not the dead eyes, but ransom demand? Maybe there's a ransom. That means she could not be dead, because otherwise, why is it so serious? If there's no changes, there wouldn't be a serious shift. Maybe there's a ransom.
どうなんだ、藤根。やっぱり一向に変化なしなのか。
So Fujine, has nothing changed?
仕方ないなあ。黙ってたら今すぐ飛び出しそうだし、絶対秘密って話でもないし。
I guess it can't be helped. You look like you'll run out if I keep quiet, and it's not like this is a secret. What is?
けどシロ、今回は特別だからね。シロが三辻さんの友人だから教えてあげるのよ。
This is a special case, you know. I'm only telling you since you're her friend. Yes, I am her friend. Present tense. Not was her friend. Past tense. It is present tense.
分かってる。オンに切るから早く。
I appreciate it, so tell me quickly.
じゃあ結論から。三辻さん、さっき保護されたの
Oh
ね。
no.
今頃は検査も終わって家に帰ってるんじゃないかしら。
No. She's a time bomb then. Otherwise, she wouldn't be found. Fuck. It's better than her being dead. But it could be, like, worse in the long run if they're building up to something later where the time bomb goes off and she dies that way. I'll tell you the results. Mitsuzuri-san was found earlier today. I'm sure the examination's over and she's home by now. She wouldn't just be found just like that with nothing wrong with her. There's no point to the threat in that case. You also wouldn't be acting so weirded out if she was just found. Examination. What was wrong with her?
ちょっと意識が混濁してるらしいけど、外傷もないし、命に別状もないって。それ以上の話はダメ。シロも友達なら、三辻さん本人から聞きなさい。
There's got to be some kind of rider, casterish type spell put upon her that makes her some kind of time bomb. She's kind of confused, but she doesn't have any wounds, and there's no danger to her life. I can't tell you anything else. If you're her friend, ask her about it. Fuck. We're gonna have a talking scene, and it's gonna be great, and I'm gonna love it, but I'm gonna know that at any moment she's gonna explode, so to speak, assuming she doesn't literally explode.
そうか。
I see.
とにかく大事はなかったんだな、あいつ。
So it wasn't serious, huh? I mean, if it wasn't serious, I feel like she would have, I don't know, said something easier, faster, not just held off to say, oh, she was found. Like, why was she examined in the first place? I guess, I don't know. No, there should be a reason if you're found, you know, there should be a reason for the examination, right? Otherwise, I mean, what was the condition she was found in? She said she's confused. Maybe that's why she's examined. She's confused. They're like, is there brain damage? Okay, that's why she could theoretically be examined. But like, oh. Thank God. I don't know what Mitsuzuri got into, but I know it has something to do with the strange incidents happening in town. Is It's likely that the source of it is this master at my school. So Shinji, yes, I would agree. Cynical Side says she was sexually assaulted. Possibly. I did say she might be Shinji's sex toy right now. I think Shinji's still going to try to use her against Shiro. Given Shinji's personality, it's very possible he tried, he had his way with her for a little bit before enacting his plan. He had the pleasure and not just the practical. That's possible. And then just mind wiped him. It's possible that she was partially mind wiped, so she doesn't remember the sexual assault. But if that was the case, I don't think Shinji would have stopped at that. There's definitely going to be a time bomb on Mitsuzuri in some way, I feel. Probably. Most likely. It's likely the source of it is this master at my school. I don't know what I would have done if something happened to Mitsuzuri. Oh, something definitely happened to Mitsuzuri. Oh, you don't know what you would have done? You definitely would have freaked out. You're very close friends with Mitsuzuri.
そうだ。さくら、ちょっといいか?
Oh, this is when you're gonna approach the Shinji topic? Oh yeah, Sakura, can I talk to you for a bit?
はい。何ですか、先輩?
Yes, what is it, senpai?
いや、大したことじゃない。ただ、シンジがどうしているか知らないかなって。
How will she react to this? It's nothing much. I'm just wondering if you know anything about Shinji.
すみません、先輩。昨日はこちらに泊めてもらって学校に行ったでしょ。だから家には帰ってないんです。先生にも兄さんが無断欠席したって聞いたんですけど。
I'm sorry, senpai. I spent the night here last night, so I didn't go home. I heard that he skipped school today, but you never ran into him?
事情はわからないか。そうだよな。さくらが知ってるわけないし。ごめん。見当違いなことを聞いちまった。
So you don't know what he's up to, huh? Yeah, it's no surprise you don't know. Sorry, I asked you something so stupid. Thinking. I'm remembering the ending now, the bad ending, where we do the wrong thing and Rin gives us our happily ever after where our memories are wiped. Oh yeah, speaking of memory wipe, we have an example from the bad ending that is a thing. So Shinji definitely could have wiped, definitely, I think, almost for sure, because she's confused, I think Shinji definitely wiped some level of, Mitsuzuri's memory. Now, was there rape involved before the mind wiping? I don't know. But, definitely I think she's some kind of time bomb. However, more on the, mind wiping of Shiro in the bad ending, from Rin, where we get to live happily ever after, in quotes. And Taiga seemed to be confused, but Sakura seemed to know to an extent what was going on, which, that goes, that suggests further, like, was she not messed with? You think she would be messed with by Rin. Maybe the idea is Rin tried to mess with her or thought she messed with her, but actually Sakura resisted it because she's got some kind of inherent magical wagicalness and she went along with it to not blow her cover ? Whatever her cover is. It's very interesting that Shinji is clearly some kind of douchebag master. And Sakura's playing the innocent card, but I feel like there has to be something more there. And I just wonder how much of her trauma related to Shinji and how traumatized by him she is. I feel like it has to be some strong trauma for her to have some crazy plot twist powers, if she does, and not act on it. And it also begs the question, at what point would she be comfortable acting on it? And what was she doing after the fact, after Shinji got axed in the timeline? How does she feel about that? Maybe we'll start to get hints of how she feels about it in this timeline when Shinji gets axed in this one. Before maybe timeline 3 goes fully into her, in theory, if I'm correct about that. The Matos are a very interesting topic for sure. It's no surprise you don't know. Sorry I asked you something stupid.
そんなことありません。兄さんのことは私が一番よ よく知っているんですから。兄さんが休んだ理由ぐらい気づかないといけないでしょ。
No, that's true. I know about Nissan more than anybody else, so I should know why he skipped school, right? What is she hiding and why is she hiding it? I think her like of Shiro is genuine. I think she genuinely likes Shiro. I want to take the premise that she genuinely likes Shiro into account. Adding to that, I think she's genuinely creeped out by Shinji. I think she's genuinely traumatized in some way by Shinji. I think these are both genuine. If you add to that, there's a plot twist and she's secretly hiding something. She doesn't want to know Shiro the truth because it's a bad something. Maybe because it's related to Shinji in some way. And yet, does Shinji know the truth? That's a question, an important question. If Sakura's got a plot twist related to her, does Shinji know about the plot twist? My assumption would be no, because he's a bit of a control freak. I feel like if he knew about the plot twist, he would punish her more. Anyways, that's not true. I know about Nissan more than anybody else, so I should know why he skipped school, right? Yeah, so I was having my whole theory session, but yeah, the idea that Shinji, if there's a chakra plot twist, which I'm almost positive there is, would Shinji know about it? I don't think he would, and that makes things interesting. I don't know, because again, he's a bit controlling, so I don't think he'd know about it, which means Sakura's playing an interesting balance, if I'm right, that there's like, Shiro being the savior of Sakura, and Shinji being the tormentor, and she's keeping it from both of them suggests what? Oh, Tom's Tom, you're the wise fool now? Cool. Tom's Tom is officially upgraded to being a wise fool. Good to know. What does it suggest? What could she be doing? And how does it relate to the Grail? I don't think I have enough information. I don't think I do. Is she just a master? I don't think so. I don't think she's just a regular master. Because I feel like if she was, there'd be more tension. Given that Shinji's another master and she would theoretically know about that. I don't know. Is she related to Makiri in some way? We haven't seen Makiri at all yet. So maybe I should hold off. There's more information maybe I need before jumping to any kind of fuller conclusions. That's not true. I know about Nissan more than anybody else, so I should know why he skipped school, right?
いや、そんなことはないだろう。実際、さくらがうちにいてくれて助かったし。
I don't think so, and it really helps when you're here. It helps me mentally. Also, I just like you and stuff. Maybe she is Makiri. I mean, that's possible, I suppose, but it would be weird. Because Ilya was the one who first brought up the name of, oh, you're Makiri's kid or whatever, to Shinji. So, and if Ilya knew about that, Ilya ended up becoming friends with Sakura after the fact. So I guess if Ilya knew, it didn't matter anymore. The event in the woods. If the person there was really Shinji, he has to have some kind of connection with the servant in black. Then there's the worst case of possibility that he's a master. If that's the case, wouldn't it be dangerous to let Sakura go back to her house? Yes, I agree. Let her keep staying here. I mean, it's more dangerous, arguably, to not let her go back because of Shinji's mentally unhinged nature. But, debatable, I suppose. I mean, she could bet more danger going back now, but Shinji might just freak out more and more until you resolve it. So resolve it and just kick him in his schnoz and then get rid of his servant. Easy peasy.
先輩、それはどういう。
Senpai, what does that mean? What does what mean? What exactly did Shiro say? What, did he say something out loud? Were you reading his mind? Oh, I don't think so. And it really helps when you're here. Oh, it helps when you're here? Because I like you being the stay-at-home wife, at least in Timeline 1.
さくら、今夜もうちに泊まってて。着替えなら藤根のを使っていいから。
Ah, what's Sakura gonna think about that? Sakura, spend the night here tonight. You can use Fujine's clothes if you don't have a change.
先輩、それは。
Senpai, that's... yeah, just keep staying over. For as long as it's going on, for as long as Shinji is a suspect. Before they stayed over, you know, to make sure Saber's okay. They kind of already know that Saber's okay, but what Taiga wants to keep staying over as a chaperone. Sakura doesn't necessarily need to stay over, but she should for the Shinji thing, I suppose.
できるならしばらく泊まり続けてくれると助かる。
It'd help me out if you can stay here for a while. Nice. And now Rin doesn't get to come in and be like, we have an alliance, leave, because now Sakura's more firmly planted in, so... Rin's staying at her own place, though, because she can afford to, because her servant is still, you know, up on Adam.
いや、さくらが迷惑だって言うなら帰ってくれていいんだが。
Well, you can go home if it's inconvenient for you. No, she definitely wouldn't say no. She wouldn't risk this opportunity. Oh, is it actually inconvenient, though? Maybe for her grand plot twist plan? Because normally she would, you know, love to ride your penis. She blushed, at least, saying that she does. But it's absurd. It's troubling to be asked so suddenly to stay over, not when she wants to ride your penis.
すまん、困らせるようなこと言って悪かった。
I'm sorry for saying things to trouble you. I bow my head and apologize. Then...
お言葉に甘えます。
Okay, I'll do as you want. Wow, that's a big move. Big move. Good for you, Sakura. I feel like I'm already a Rin sexual in this timeline, but big move. Sakura agrees so quietly that it's almost lost in the sound of the cooking stew. It's getting late. She's constantly felt so nervous about going home and having to go home to keep up the ruse to Shinji, in theory. So it's definitely a big step. And she had the excuse to stay over one night because of Saber and the love rival challenging her, which gave her the confidence to be like, sure, I'll keep staying over. She probably realizes it's a big risk, but she's willing to take the risk because of her love for Shiro. Every time I think about these things, think about Sakura's motivations, in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's some plot twist there. What's the plot twist? And how does that play into the motivations? But I feel like her love for Shiro is genuine, and I feel like her fear of her brother is also genuine. I went to the dojo with Saber afternoon to receive my punishment. Saber called it training, but I swear she was just beating me up. What comes around goes around. No matter what, we still get our training, quote unquote. When we finished, it was past 10 o'clock. It seems they're sleeping together again today, as Fujine and Sakura go to the Japanese-style room.
シロ、どうしました？部屋に戻るのではないのですか？
Shiro, what's wrong? You're not going back to your room? You seem so accepting of this by now, Saber. Accepting of the idea that we're sleeping in separate rooms, as if you're getting to like the, you know, Taiga, Sakura, Saber relationship and want to keep that going. Letting yourself be a, you know, have them as good friends, as it were. Are you not going back to your room? Is he contemplating what Archer said still? Or thinking about Rin? Or thinking about Shinji?
ああ、戻るよ。ただその前にセイバーに聞いておきたいことがあって。
Yeah, I'm going, but there's one thing I wanted to ask you before that. Ooh, is it about her wish?
気になることですか？どうぞ。私に答えられることであれば構いませんが。
Please go ahead. I will answer anything I can. You say that, but I mean, anything you can implies that even if you don't want to, you'll answer. And I think that might not be true. Going from Kiritsugu to Taiga and Sakura is a nice change of pace. Well, that's... I mean, it's not like she ever hung out with Kiritsugu. She more hung out, if anything, with Ilya's mom. Ilya's mom was fun, I think. I mean, Taiga and Sakura are fine, but I don't think Ilya's mom was really a problem. You can compare Kiritsugu to Shiro, but I don't think it's right to compare Kiritsugu to Taiga and Sakura. I'll answer anything I can. Dash, dash. I guess I'll get right to the point. What Archer said. Servants who have no freedom seek the Holy Grail to obtain freedom. Has to be the case for Saber. But he said Saber would not wish for freedom. She doesn't. Well, she wishes for a kind of freedom. A different kind. Not the healthy kind.
セイバー、お前は聖杯が必要なんだよな。
Saber, you need the Holy Grail, right?
はい。私の目的は聖杯です。そのために私は英霊になった。それは以前にも話したはずですが。
So is this when we resolve this? Because of Archer? Because of his Shiro from the future past nature? Yes, my objective is to obtain the Holy Grail. I became a heroic spirit for that reason. I believe I told you this before. You became a spirit for the Grail. The backwards logic.
分かってる。けど、それは何のためなんだ？
Ah, yes, the heart of the matter. I know, but why?
聖杯さえ手に入れれば、サーバントはマスターがいなくてもこっちに留まってられるんだろ
A servant can stay in this world without a master if it obtains the Holy Grail, right?
う。なら、セイバーは聖杯を手に入れて、ここでやりたいことをやるんだよな。
Then you're gonna obtain the Holy Grail and do what you wish here, right? That's what he definitely wanted in Timeline 1 for her to, because of his saber sexualness. I think here, though, he's more actually legitimately prodding because of what Archer said.
いいえ、聖杯を手に入れた後、私はこの世界から去るだけです。この時代の人間ではない私がここにいることは許されませんし、何より私にはやりたいことなどありませんから。
No, I will leave this world once I obtain the Holy Grail. It is not allowed for me, someone from a different time, to stay in this time. I don't think that's technically true, but sure. And most of all, I do not have anything I would want to do. Well, not in this timeline, but in the other one, you want to with Shiro. Her eyes show determination. But yeah, this is definitely a deflection. She's not actually answering the question of the fact that she wants to erase herself from existence, essentially. It shows no hesitation nor lies. In that case, there's nothing I can say to her. I feel like we should, break to the heart of this matter now. I mean, why wait? We as the player have already seen Timeline 1, so we already know. So just break to the heart of the bullshit. Why wait? Just let Shiro be smart in this instance. Say, hey, you're deflecting, because she is deflecting.
そうか。セイバーの目的が何なのかはわからないから、強くは言えないけど。
I see. I can't tell you strongly since I don't know what your wish is, but I think it's unlike Saber to ask for a wish from the Holy Grail. Well, given that servants are supposed to be similar to their masters, and Shiro definitely doesn't want a wish from the Holy Grail. Yeah, would make sense for Shiro to think that of Saber. And yeah, Saber seems like a very honorable person. It'd be weird for someone like her to not want to just, make it herself. For her to want an easy button. You suggest these things, wise fool, and I'm just like, why do you do that, wise fool? That's not a very wise notion. That's a foolish notion, even. Gosh. Giving up trying to save her in this timeline? How dare? We have to save her. Every timeline. They have to progressively get better. We have to get better and better at each timeline. Otherwise, what's the point of the chronology, right? I mean, if we just leave her to rot in her terrible fate. I mean, it'd be fine if we, stop the Grail and get it all to be icky and stopped anyways, and then she can deal with it post-humus, but if she's dealing with it post-humus anyways, might as well deal with it in the present so we have the satisfaction of the Golden Root, if that's the idea that we're going towards, an ending where things are the most happiest everly afterest, and, if they get happier and happier each time. It just feels to me that seems more correct based on the chronology aspect. I think it's unlike Saber to ask for a wish from the Holy Grail. I don't know what the Holy Grail is, but I vaguely think that it's not appropriate for this golden-haired girl.
約束したからな。セイバーに聖杯を手に入れさせるって。今はそれを信じよう。
I promised you that we'll obtain the Holy Grail, so I'll believe your words. For now!
何かあったのですか、シロ。どうも帰ってきてからのあなたは覇気がないように思いますが。
Is something wrong? You have not seemed well since you came home. I mean, yeah, I had an Archer chat and it was kind of awkward. Do you know him? I don't think you know him. I think he knows you, though.
そんなことはないけどな。 あってそうだ。セイバー、今後の方針なんだが。
That's not true. Oh yeah, Saber, about our course of action. Ah, okay, now he's remembering what Archer said about how Rin's always acting. She was like, I gotta act. I can't just let Rin carry me. Saber looks serious now. As expected of her, Saber is Saber no matter how well she gets along with Fujine. It's annoying, but her true nature is revealed in her fighting, like Archer said. Remember Kiritsuga's famous words, you can't save everyone. Well, the whole point, though, isn't the whole point that we're gonna fight through that so you're gonna be the superhero? I mean, yeah, I get what you mean. I get what you're saying, but Kiritsuga's message was not the best. It was what he was forced to settle with. He was settling. Aren't we not settling? I know that, you know, Shiro arguably doesn't really have the hero mentality. He's very complicated of an individual, but I think he still likes saving people that are at least close to him, even if he, you know, doesn't care much for saving strangers, it seems.
今日学校に行って、そこに3人目のマスターがいるってことが分かったんだ。そこで遠坂と一波乱起きた。いろいろあって、学校に潜んでいるマスターを探し出すまで、遠坂とは休戦協定を結んだんだが。
How is she going to react to this? Because if I had a tussle with a master, theoretically, Saber should have been called because Archer could have came at any moment, right? But I went to school today and found out there's a third master there. I had a quarrel with Tosaka. A lot happened, and we ended up promising a truce until we find the master hiding at our school. I report what happened today in a hurry. Now she definitely isn't going to be okay with you going alone to school. I mean, you said you have a truce with Tosaka, but what was the tussle? I think she's going to want details. Saber is listening seriously at first, but as the story goes on, she starts to look at me unhappily. I can see why.
セイバー、遠坂と協力するのは反対か?
Are you against cooperating with Tosaka, or do you notice in my words that I have a boner for her?
いいえ、シロには知識がないのですから、リンから学ぶのは賛成です。
No, I agree that you should learn from Rin, as you have no knowledge. Okay. It makes sense this is a UBW exclusive conversation, because I'm just remembering that Saber was against teaming up with Rin in the initial Fate timeline. Although, to be fair, Archer, you know, was gimped, so they definitely didn't need to in that one. But also, like, Saber gets happier when you say no, but then that just ends up leading to the, you know, Rin mind-wiping you ending, which there's no way to avoid. But in this timeline, Saber's okay with the team-up because Archer's stronger, I guess? It's just interesting ordering, because Saber's like, oh yeah, team-up's a good idea. Where in the other one, it's like, team-up is a bad idea. I agree that you should learn from Rin, as you have no knowledge. However...
ですが、そういった大事を決めたのなら、すぐに伝えてほしい。
I agree.
それと、できるのなら相談も。
Because not doing so is just playing into what Archer says, just using her as a tool. You tell her when she needs to know, not acting as if she's a real accomplice. It sort of plays into that mentality. I would have liked for you to tell me earlier, and if you could have consulted me beforehand as well. Exactly. By not doing so, it does kind of play into what Archer said about you just used her as a tool. If she was a real accomplice, you would have told her, you know, consulted her and stuff. Saber glares at me. I'm ashamed of myself since she's absolutely right.
では、明日からはリンと協力して校舎を探索するのですね。
Then you cooperate with Rin tomorrow to search the school?
そういうことになる。何か異常を見つけたらセイバーを呼ぶから、それまで待機していてくれ。
You're being soft, Saber, just assuming Rin won't betray me. Yep, I'll call for you if we find something strange. So stand by here until then. I guess I didn't say exactly what the tussle with Rin was. You might think it's less serious than it actually was, but...
方針としては手ぬるいですが、シロが先頭になれるまではちょうどいいでしょう。
It is too lenient to plan, but it'll be perfect until you get used to battles, I suppose.
当面は学校に結界を張ったマスターを追うのですね。
So we'll be going after the master that set up the boundary field at school. Okay, so if these are meant to be one-at-a-time timelines, I think I'm having a bit of a theory now that in Timeline 3, things are really just gonna, burst out right away. The idea that, because Saber is all like how, oh, Shiro, you're still not a good fighter yet. He worked really hard to eventually find his way to be a good fighter at the end of Timeline 1. And now Timeline 2, it's like, it's not the same thing, but he still has to go through this phase of, oh, you just suck, even though we know you're good. So I feel like in my mind, when we get to the theoretical Timeline 3 that I'm thinking exists, they might just skip past that BS. Maybe if the Grail or something is making Shiro replay these events, maybe Shiro will actually have more of an understanding by the time we get to the third time around, and just be able to kick more ass right from the start. One can hope. I feel like they do that because otherwise, it would definitely start to feel like a 3 strikes you're out sort of situation. Like, really? He has to become badass again? We can't just keep him badass already? Shiro at least keeps his smarts this time from Timeline 1, to be fair. But, like, if he already has his smarts from Timeline 1, what does he keep when he goes to Timeline 3, in theory? Hopefully it's how badass he actually is. We'll be going after the master that set up the boundary field at school? I nod. After thinking for a while,
確認しますが、
let me confirm.
学校に潜むマスターを倒した後は、リンとの休戦協定は白紙に戻り、彼女とは敵同士に戻る。
After we defeat the master at your school, your cooperation with her will end, and she'll be your enemy again? Oh, that's TBD, I think. I feel like you should just give a definitive answer, but she didn't really give you a definitive answer, so...
それに間違いはありませんね。
Is that correct? Saber asks to make sure. Well... Oh, jeez. Will this affect... Even though Rin's not here, will this affect waifu route? It could. I can't say for sure, I guess that's how it'll be. Because if I say I guess that's how it'll be, I'm accepting that I'm going to become Rin's enemy again. Which I like, because I want to resolve that, conflict. But if I say I can't say for sure, that means I'm more open to the idea of being with Rin in a permanent fashion, which might give Rin some Rin points. I don't know if I need Rin points. I needed Saber points, and I failed to get them. But, thinking logically for a second, I can't say for sure. I guess that'll how it be. I think I can't say for sure is the only honest answer I can give, because I don't really know what Rin is saying, and I know Shiro himself doesn't want to be enemies with her again, for sure. So even though, it's weird, even though I personally would like to see the narrative go in the direction where we become enemies again, I feel like I want to see that on Rin's side. I want Rin to initiate that. Shiro shouldn't be the one initiating that. Shiro, there's no reason for him to not just keep wanting to be with her. You're metagaming again. Shut up! I'm trying to talk myself out of metagaming, actually. I would love to say I guess that's how it'll be, but I don't think Shiro would actually want to say that. I want to go for I can't say for sure, because I feel like that's the more honest answer, even though I really want the other answer. Maybe the Rin point bad is her fighting Shiro again, he loses. I want them to fight again, and I want it to, he wins! In some way, it doesn't have to be actually winning the fight, but like talking her down, negotiating her to death. Not to death, but anyways, I'm gonna say I can't say for sure, because that feels more right to me. I can't say for sure. I owe Tosaka, and most of all, I personally don't want to fight against Tosaka. Just be honest? Honesty is hard! We have to be crafty! This is the Grail War, and you know what they say, snitches get stitches. So don't be a stitch. Negotiate to the death. I personally don't want to fight against Tosaka.
ダメだ。まだ断言はできない。
No, I can't say for sure yet.
学校のマスターを倒してもまだ先があるかもしれないだろ。バーサーカーっていう怪物もいるんだ。協力し合えるならできる限り協力した方がいい。
You need Taiga points to avoid the bad end. That is a plot twist given that it's the Taiga dojo. There might be more to do even after we defeat the master at my school. There's that monster called Berserker as well. If we can cooperate, we should cooperate for as long as we can. I would agree. Cooperate until it's the final two. That was my idea in Timeline 1. There's no reason to stop, I don't think. until we're the final two, if we're going to be respectful about it. And I feel at this point, I don't know, in Timeline 1, it was iffy at the beginning to know for sure if that's how she felt. But in Timeline 2, I think there's a more clear way, based on how she's acted up till now, that she'd be the honorable type that would allow for a gentleman's final two duel, as it were. And yeah, this game does have a lot with the facades and stuff, and the, you know, truth within the truth. Although that's true of a lot in life, to be honest. People generally, you know, hiding what they really want, or not feeling like they deserve what they really want. They don't, you know.
そうですか。マスターがそういうのならば従いますが。それでは、シローが辛いだけになる。その時になって、自らの選択を悔やまないでください。
I see. I will obey if Master says so, but that will only make it harder for you. Please do not regret choice when the time comes. That will only make it harder for you? Do you mean, like, if I let myself get too emotionally attached to Rin, fighting her will be harder? That's fair. Or do you mean, like, it'll be technically harder to do a one-on-one fight against Rin because I'm an inexperienced master, and it'd be easier to let Rin get killed off by some other master? But again, I always have to beat some kind of master, but beating Rin is maybe harder because Rin might know my weaknesses? Or rather, Rin is a bit of an emotional weakness for me. So I guess there's both sides to the story. Saber bows and leaves. Dash. What are you thinking, Shiro? I know. The more we cooperate, the greater the likelihood that we'll fight in the end. I mean, yeah, isn't that the idea? Keep cooperating. If you're lucky, one of you gets killed off midway through. That's what happened in Timeline 1. Archer just, you know, had to be bopped by Berserker. If you aren't lucky, you'll end up fighting in the end, but, I mean, you can at least gentleman's fight and end it gentlemanly. I should try to be Tosaka's enemy for as long as I can if I don't want to be mentally hurt. You mean emotionally hurt? You're already too much of a Rin sexual at this point, I'd argue. And also, Tosaka has a way to peacefully beat you, so I guess you don't necessarily know that, but you could talk about it a bit while you're teaming up. I don't know. I guess it's hard to broach the subject. I mean, for Rin, it's easy. I mean, it's not because of her pride. But for Rin, it's theoretically easy on the emotional level. For you, it's not so easy. There's a difference between honesty and bluntly attacking people. I mean, yeah. It's hard because you don't always know. You say, oh, just tell the truth. But it's hard because, I mean, you know, sometimes lies can be nicer than the truth. It depends. There's not a one catch-all scenario. Yeah, you have some sauce on your lips versus you're a fucking slob. Clean your dirty, disgusting face. Yes, that's definitely fair. And then there's the other debate of even saying you have some sauce on your lips. What if there's other people around and that person has, you know, anxiety issues about people making fun of them? And so you don't want to just say it if it's going to point it out to other people. So if you could somehow subtly point it out to them without literally saying it, it's nuanced and really depends on the situation of how to approach people. People are not so simple as, oh, just say the truth. Or else what's going to remain is a big scar. Uh-huh, that's true. Especially now that you're more of a Rin sexual. Because no matter which one of us wins, the survivor has to finish off the loser. Ooh. I mean, that's something that I thought of from the beginning, but Rin doesn't necessarily have to do that. She has a clean way out of it. And again, you can gentleman's battle and just have the servant's face. Because from the beginning with Kirei, Rin was like, no, you don't have to kill the other person. But at least you're thinking about it now. Rather cynical. Oh, the day has switched again. Faker. Ooh, the day's name is Faker. Interesting. I'm dreaming. Okay, what is this? What dream is this? Is this an Archer dream? What do we got? Using a small connection like a blood vessel, I see a memory that I cannot reach. Ha! You think you're good enough to be my faker? I'll make you eat those words! You're not even good enough to... It is his memories. Kiritsugu's? Archers? What are you talking about? Memory that I cannot reach. At the very least, it's not mine. Or maybe they're both yours. This is someone else's story. Archer's story? It's so long ago that he doesn't even recall it. Because he's got some weird amnesia? It's so old that he doesn't even try to recall it. He doesn't want to recall it. It's so ancient that he cannot recall it. How ancient are we talking? How long has he been in this system, this cycle? It is a heavy burden of a contract that's been established and cannot be withdrawn. Okay, this sounds like Archer. Some kind of burden. He didn't want the responsibility. Okay. It's not like he wanted something. If anything, he was the kind of guy that could not put up with anything. Sure. He cannot put up with having people cry around him. Understandable. I can see why someone would find that annoying. Especially if you're Broly, right? He cannot put up with having people get hurt around him. That sounds like a Shiro thing. So, you know, just saying, just throwing that out there. Granted, that's a bit of a Rin thing too. So. He cannot put up with having people die around him. Doesn't like it when people around him are suffering. Sounds like a Shiro thing, but, you know... That's the only reason he had. And for that reason alone, he tried to help everybody in his sight. So yeah, I was definitely right, at least to an extent, that there's a connection between Archer and Shiro because of, mentality-wise, that Archer is cynical now, but he used to try to save everybody. And he's like, hey, Shiro, that's stupid. What are you doing? Don't be stupid. He was clumsy, and it made you worry if you were looking at him. But he would accomplish it in the end, and I think he changed a lot of people's lives. What did he accomplish? I'm sure his life was a happy one. Was it? Sounds like it was a little miserable. His clumsy battles were not meaningless. He was able to save people proportional to how much he got hurt and how many times he faced death. Yeah, but if we're just going to talk about proportions, that means he couldn't save everyone. And anyone even getting hurt at all for someone like that is going to feel terrible about it, right? There's one pitfall there. I said everybody in his sight. Aha! So he couldn't save people they didn't see. And he wants to save literally everybody, right? But one can never look at oneself. Oh, so he couldn't save himself. That's what you're saying. Right, sure, of course, fair. So in the end, he could not save the most important person of all, himself. Very fair. That sounds correct. I don't know how it ended up like that. No, it should be the other way around. You're supposed to save yourself first before you save others, but for some people that's not quite the case. It was a wonder that it didn't end up like this earlier. Anyway, it was a terrible disaster. A lot of people died, and a lot of people were facing death. There's a part of my mind that's like, is this just talking about Kiritsugu and the fire? But I don't think so. Like, how would he be having a flashback of Kiritsugu's? There's parallels for sure, but I think it's talking about Archer. Something that could not be solved with his powers alone. With many deaths in front of him, he... Let me make a contract. I shall give you my life after my death. I would like the compensation now. Okay. A lot of people died. A lot of people were facing death. Something that could not be solved with his powers alone. With many deaths in front of him, he... Give you my life after my death. It's talking about Shinji. Shinji, that great guy. Yeah, it's not like Shinji enjoys the suffering of people of others or anything like that. No, of course not. I would like the compensation now. I see. So once he dies, he becomes a servant. But for now, just save everything. I understand. That would definitely, I could see why I'd be like, I did my wish. Already came true. So again, he seems like a pre-servant, right? He's like a Saber thing. He made a contract with the Grail he did a similar thing to Saber. Like, save everything and I'll be a servant after the fact. Is that right? They're being vague enough this could still be Shiro, but, you know. Yes, he made a contract with something as mysterious as the world. Throwing away himself to save people. It is the birth of a hero. But he was throwing away himself for... it wasn't really saving himself, though. I mean, of course it wasn't saving himself. He was sacrificing himself, but that's... He wasn't, you know, mentally in the right state of mind. That's all. There's nothing after that. Even if he is called a hero, it doesn't change what he does. From the beginning, it was not his objective to be a hero. Other people's suffering just pissed him off. It's just that he needed the power of a hero in the process. But his end came rather quickly. An excellent savior is nothing but a nuisance for the people that are not getting saved. Sounds about right. He understands his own powers and the extent of the world. He accepts what can be saved and what cannot be saved. Sounds again very similar to Kiritsugu mentality, which I talked about earlier, how it seems like, oh, Archer thought he was like him and Kiritsugu in the future, but he's actually secretly like Kira, and it's not quite true, but it was a fun little back and forth in Timeline 1 to, you know, figure out what Shira's mentality really was. But, that's why he wanted at least the people in his sight to be happy. For sure. Never looked in a mirror? A lot of people called it hypocrisy. Yes. A lot of people did say that whenever Shiro tried to do that too. Many despised it as an extreme value. The way he silently pursued his ideal was something he should have been proud of, but wasn't. This, again, still sounds a lot like Shiro. And they're being vague enough that it still could be. In the end, he met an uncompensated end, and as the contract promised, he reached the place. He had friends and a lover. Ooh, who was the lover? He lost all of them, and he was cornered by the ideal he pursued. He had no place to go. He was burdened with many voices of resentment, but still kept fighting. Oh, the thing he hated the most, people suffering around him. He knew of his fate, but he acted like he tried to perform miracles, using his fate as support. But that comes to an end, and he just got more cynical and cynical? The place he reaches at the end is a hill of swords. His battle ends on the hill amongst the rusted, ownerless steel. ends as in it's going to be there forever. If there's ever a polite way to say something like you come across as someone who's not only ignorant, but proudly and stubbornly so, and if you don't mock me for disliking the affection is childish, I'd like to hear it. It'd be a good tool to hang on to. Well, I mean, if someone does seem kind of like a prick, you don't necessarily have to look into it. But if you're going to, then, you know, you could just straight up, you know, be confrontational and just not bother. It's possible there's more to it, or it's possible they're too far gone, but This is Archer's view. This is his hill of Kamlan. There is definitely a parallel there, how Saber ended on a hill or whatever, but this seems like a different kind of hill ending, because it's like after the fact already, right? The place he reaches at the end is a hill of swords. His battle ends on the hill among the rusted, ownerless swords. Yeah, copyright, exactly. I had a sword here, what the fuck? Still alone. Alone. That'd be big for Shiro, given how lusty he is. You know, him wanting a girlfriend, never ended up with anyone, or ended up with a lover. He said he had a lover, but then ended up alone in the posthumous. Ends on the hill among the rusted, ownerless swords. Ownerless. And then if we come back to, like, the weapon, for example. Khalid Bolg, too, as it were, said to be the demonic sword possessed by the hero of Ireland, Fergus, but as the two in the name suggests, it's a different weapon for Fergus' sword, and Archer has applied improvements particular to himself. Is a noble phantasm considered the nature... He had a lover, and yet he ended up alone. That might be like Shiro in the Saber timeline, when Saber... Considered the natural enemy of Cuchulainn, the great hero of Celtic myth. The order of Kelwog is Ulster-born. Cuchulainn has a duty to be defeated once by the sword due to his gels. Or geis, yeah. Still alone. But he smiles in satisfaction as he lets go of the sword. As if saying there's nothing to regret if he was able to save everybody that came into his sight. And yet you have to keep going. Never saved yourself? Maybe Shiro needs to save you. But are you Shiro? I don't know yet. Dash. Alright, that was the entire dream. Shiro said it's not him, but if it's him in the future, he might just not know that. That was still vague enough that I could see it still just being Shiro from the future past, but we'll see. Dash. My body feels heavy. My awakening comes with a headache.
昨日の傷のせいかな。右腕、まだかすかに痛むし。
I wonder if it's because of the wound from yesterday. My right arm's still hurting. I murmur while getting up. That's a loophole. If Archer was Shiro, and he saves everyone in his sight, then past future Shiro can save each other. Yeah, that's true. You can't save yourself if you don't, but, you can look at each other because, yeah. You also, could have just fucking looked in a fucking mirror. Like, what, did mirrors not exist in your time, Shiro? Mirrors exist in your time. Look in a goddamn mirror, Shiro. Save yourself. I remember while getting up. It's past 6 o'clock. Oh, that's late for you. You normally wake up at 5:30 or whatever?
まず、今日くらい朝飯作らないと。
Shimata! Crap, I should be making breakfast. I jump out of my futon and change instantly. Instantly? That's like, just this instant. Fujine and Sakura have morning practice. Oh boy. They'll be leaving here around 6:30, so I won't make it unless I hurry. Mirrors don't exist in the future because the vampires took over the world and they have no use for mirrors. I mean, yeah, I'm not disagreeing, but it turns out that wasn't even true, and it was a lie, so, don't trust the newspapers. Humans are out there. It's not just vampires. Newspapers are just vampire propaganda in the future. After I see them off, I drink tea with Saber. Time flies by and it's past 7 o'clock before I realize it.
それじゃあ行ってくる。留守番よろしくな、セイバー。
I'm going now. Take care while I'm gone, Saber.
はい。シローも気をつけて。リンの助力があるとはいえ、無茶はしないように。
Yes, please be careful yourself as well. Do not do anything reckless, even if you may be with Rin. Mm-hmm.
まあ、昨日で懲りてる。敵を追いかけるときは、セイバーの力を借りるよ。
Yep, I learned that yesterday. I'll ask for your help if I'm to go after an enemy. Indeed. Did you really learn it yesterday, though? Do you learn things in this timeline, Shiro? I wave goodbye and leave. I learned that yesterday. Did you really? Are you gonna... Even if you, like, even if you learned it, will you learn from it? Because I feel like there's a difference. Ask for your help if I'm to go after an enemy. Do you think when you went and ran after a rider, do you not count that as going after an enemy? Or do you think that was going after an enemy, and if you were to do it again, you would have summoned Saber? I would like some additional context, Shira. The morning air is peaceful. But the place I'm heading to isn't normal anymore. It's the place of an enemy. And a frenemy.
Yosh.
Alright, yosh! I get myself mentally ready as I go down the hill. Tosak is acting like a master, so I should act as one too. Yeah! I greet people as I make my way to my... Oh, with that dash dash dash. Cliffhanger intermission! Do we run into Issei? Do we run into, do we run into Ayako? Do we run into Shinji? We don't run into Shinji. Well, maybe. That would be a pretty big dash dash dash. We could run into Shinji. That would be a pretty big dash dash dash. I greet people as I make my way to my... On my way, Shinji, Ayako. My eyes catch a glimpse of someone and my mind goes blank. Rin? No. Shinji. It's gotta be Shinji. You can't just mix different sauces and expect them to play well long term. It's possible. Food science. There's a reason certain sauces end up getting mixed eventually. Some just haven't been tried. Some there's a different taste. Lots of different tastes to the tasting of food. That is taste. Oh yeah, dash dash dash. Hey, what's up, Shinji? I don't need to think. I run straight to Shinji. Oh boy! I don't know if you're gonna want to fight in broad daylight.
Shinji, お前。
Shinji, you!
いやあ、エミヤ。どうしたんだよ。今朝は随分と物騒じゃないか。何？僕が休んでる時に何かあったの？
Well, you were gone. Did you think you weren't seen? And Shiro only saw you because of his crazy magic awesome eyesight? Hey, Emiya, what's going on? You're looking pretty dangerous. Did something happen to you while I was gone? Mayo starred. Mayo chop. Versus what? Catch tard? Must chup?
何かあったじゃない。お前、三綴りに何をした？
Shut up. What did you do to Mitsuzuri? Ooh, he gets straight to it. I don't think his inner monologue has really brought that up much until now. The idea that, you know, Shinji and Mitsuzuri are both kind of missing, but the idea that Shinji actually is somehow responsible for the Mitsuzuri missing. There we go.
三綴？ああ、綾子ね。何でも家出してたらしいじゃん。僕も今朝道場で聞いたよ。昨日信徒の方で見つかったんだってね。
What are you claiming that you don't know Ayako's first name very well? You're only on a last name basis? Mitsuzuri? Oh, Ayako! I heard she ran away. I heard about it in the range this morning, so she was found in Shinto, I don't know what's funny, but Shinji laughs. Of course he does, because it's all going according to his evil shitbag plan. Looks like he's sneering at her. He's probably sneering at me, too. He probably bets I won't do it. I won't have the guts to act.
とぼけるな。三綴りと最後に会ったのはお前だろう。その時、あいつに何をしたかって聞いてるんだよ。
Don't play dumb. You're the last one that talked to her. I'm asking you what you did to her then. The accusation.
はあ何をしたかって世間話だけど
We only chatted for a bit. I don't know whatever to such you referring as me is. What?
それよりさ聞いたかいエミヤ綾子のやつそこいらの路地裏に転がってたんだぜフラフラでさ制服もボロボロだったって話さ
More importantly, did you hear about it, Emiya? They found Ayako collapsed in the back alley. I hear she was... Oh, you just know her fucking name now, and now you use it like it's nothing. Huh? Mitsuzuri? Oh, you mean... Oh, you normally call her Ayako because you're too good for last name basis? Is that what you mean? Oh, yeah, okay, he doesn't normally use the last name. He normally uses the Ayako name. So he's like, I don't need to know her other name. I'm close enough to know her main name. They found Ayako collapsed in a back alley. I hear she was all dizzy and her uniform was messed up. It sounds like she could have been raped. There's a rule 4? Is the rule 4 that you should eat food? Oh, do you mean my Twitch chat rules? I haven't checked them in a while, but I'll trust that you know what you're talking about. Right, stay on topic? I would assume that's rule 4. I don't know.
いや何があったか知らないけどさちょっと聞き捨てならないよな普段から選ぶってるあいつがさどんな風に捨てられてたか興味あるよね
Well, I don't know what happened, but it's not something I can ignore, right? I'm kind of curious how that conceited girl got trashed. How dare you? How dare you, good madam sir? Got trashed? Conceited girl? Oh, you really are enjoying playing this over on me. Of course you are. It's in your nature. You bet you think I don't have the balls to fight back, or you think you know I won't because it's broad daylight. But when we get alone in the darkness, I'll kick your face in your shins. Dash, dash.
どうしたんだよそんな怖い顔して冗談だよ冗談本気にするなってそれに綾子は保護されたんだろ家で療養中だっけあいつが帰ってくる頃には噂話も広まってるだろうから
Why the angry
何かとやり
face?
づらくなるだろうけど
It's just a joke. Ayeko's under care now, right? I think she's staying at her house now. Well, I guess it'll be harder for her when she comes back because the rumor will have spread by then. The rumor that I'm gonna start! That she's a slut! Who's easy. Yeah. Which rumor exactly, though? I think that's what you're getting at, but that's probably part of your plan so you can, take the reins of the club and all that. Because she challenged your authority and you didn't like it, especially with soccer being away. You doubly didn't like it. The soccer being away might have been the instigator, but you definitely vented your frustrations on her.
お前、今の話、弓道部のみんなに話したっていうのか
Shinji, are you saying you told everyone at the archery range about this?
さあねけどもう1年の間じゃ有名だぜ伝言ゲームじゃないけど昨日のうちからくるくる回ってたらしいからさ
Maybe. But all the first years know about it already. I hear the rumor's been flying around since yesterday. What a load of crap. You definitely started this rumor, if anything. Oh, or do you mean that she was missing and not just absent for a day? That rumor. I mean, that's doesn't really mean that much if you don't have the attachment of what the significance of the rumor is, but yeah, sure. I clench my fists and then shove one of them in his face. Did he get around and tell everyone such a story? Oh yeah, she was onto him. Sure knows he's the rumor pooper. The pooper rumor. Right, okay, they're not talking about just her being missing. They mean, you know, the whole her being a skank thing. Right, gotcha. Mitsuzuri is a girl. Everyone thinks she's strong, but she's still a girl. So no matter how strong she is, it'll destroy her if such a rumor is spreading. She might put up an armor and pretend like it doesn't affect her, but it'll affect her. He still spread the rumor in spite of that? Of course he did. He's a fucking douche. He's a big fat douche bag. He took a secret and spread it irresponsibly? I mean, that was the point. He was trying to spread it because he's a douchey douche.
Shinji, お前
Shinji, have you upgraded? Are you gonna punch him in broad daylight? You gonna clock his lights? I grab his shoulders. Oh boy.
そう睨むなよ。僕は知らないって言ってるだろ。身勝手な思いつきで言いがかりをつけると後悔するよ。
Don't glare at me like that. I said I don't know anything about it. You'll regret it if you hit me for selfish reasons. I mean, of course, Shinji's all about doing things in spite, let's be honest. You'll regret it if you hit me for selfish reasons. Oh, it's not selfish if I'm hitting you to protect my friend's honor. Then it's not just for my sake. It's for everyone's sake, because everyone hates you. Ryder's probably invisible here. What, ready to attack even though there's a bunch of innocents around? I guess Shinji maybe just doesn't give a shit. I feel like he has to give some level of shit, but if he can activate the field at any time, then maybe that does create an issue. I think if you, I don't know, maybe you can just, there's the other argument is that, he's goading you because he wants to think he's better than you and he doesn't think you'll go through with it. And if you actually go through with it, you know, that'll surprise him. Shaking my hand off, Shinji goes to sit down. Come on, deck him in the schnosh. I want to deck him so badly. You had a perfect opportunity to deck him. And Ilya stole it in the last pathway when, you know, she just, you know, killed him so easily. And I mean, look, it's great that she killed him. He deserved to die and all that. But, like, you know, I want to deck him in the fucking schnosh myself. Maybe we finally get the opportunity this time. The homeroom bell rings. Dash exclamation point. This itself might be a trap. He might have showed up on purpose to trigger me, to get me to, I don't know, act irrationally. I can't stay standing while everyone else is sitting down. I glare at Shinji one more time and head to my seat. The day ends. Well, that was fast. Did we never run into Ayako? I mean, Ayako is supposed to be around, right? She just did her house. I mean, I guess she wouldn't have come back to school so quickly. Such a quick turnaround. What's the what, though? School's over and the students head home, one after another. I could have questioned Shinji, but I don't have any proof right now. I guess. But, so what are you going to do to try and find proof, as it were? Even if I told him about seeing him in the woods yesterday, it would amount to nothing if he tells me he just happened to be there. But also, why do you need proof necessarily? For your own self of mind, I guess? If you're sure, then it shouldn't really matter. But I guess you partially want it to not be true because you know it'll make things awkward for Sakura, and that's fair. But I have to find proof first. Well, what's your plan? How do you plan to do that? What's Rin doing, and are you not going to tell Rin about this at all? That just shows how much you don't want it to be true, I suppose. So, in that case, for Sakura's sake, you are falling back into your dirty habits. I don't know if he's a master or not, but I'm sure he has something to do with Mitsuzuri's case. Oops, accidentally skipped. How do I identify a master? I can only strip them and look for the command spell, huh? Well, I'm sure no master is going to allow me to do that. If only Sakura's out of the situation, then we can just fucking screw him over. No, don't let me make Sakura out of the situation. Sakura's a pretty princess. I want to protect her. She was out of the situation last time and it made me feel uncomfortable.
そろそろか。
Oh, I know what you mean. Never mind.
遠坂ならいい方法を知ってるかもな。
It's almost time. Tosaka might know of a good way. Yeah, her way that involves not even knowing what you know about Shinji's identity. Sure. I do wonder what Rin did last night, if anything important, or if she just wanted to shoo me away for her hormone's sake. That could very easily be it. I get up. I promised Tosaka I'd meet her in the hallway after school. I get together with Tosaka and look around the whole school. According to Tosaka, the boundary field has its foundation set up throughout the school. Tosaka has been searching and erasing them, but it seems they keep coming back, or new ones are created, preventing Tosaka from completely eliminating the boundary field. Oh? According to Tosaka, the boundary field has its foundations. Did Tosaka already tell you about the boundary? Yeah, she did, yeah. The boundary field has its foundations set up throughout the school. Searching and erasing them. So they're not just on the roof. The roof's just like the primary one, or just the first one Ren found. Seems they keep coming back up, or new ones are created. Maybe it's innate to the way the magic works. Or Shinji just keeps redoing it, but I think it's probably just innate. Preventing Tosaka from completely eliminating the boundary field.
結界自体はもう張られちゃってるから、
The boundary field's already set up.
私がやってることは効力を弱めているだけよ。それでもやらないよりはマシ
You're
だ
wrong.
し、不完全なうちは相手だって結界を発動させないでしょ。
What I'm doing is weakening the effect. It's better than nothing, and I'm sure the master won't activate it until it's complete. You're wrong, because Shinji, caught Shiro off guard last time when he activated it prematurely. It didn't fully kill them, but it did enough to mess them up. And that, messed up your schedule, Rin, so don't assume. That's the case according to her. She was wrong last time.
遠坂、聞きたいことがあるんだけど、いいか？
Tosaka, can I ask you something? So, you still call her Tosaka, you're not quite ready to call her Rin, I see. Did you ever get to calling her Rin in Timeline 1? I don't remember. I could see it going both ways, where maybe you just never called her Rin because you never felt that close to her, or you did start calling her Rin because you felt comfortable that, yeah, she's not going to be my lover, but she's a good friend. This timeline's pacing seems really fast compared to Timeline 1. Yes, I would definitely agree. The timeline's pacing is much faster. It's definitely noticeable that in Timeline 1, they really felt like they lulled around in school, just not accomplishing much. I don't think that was sort of part of the idea, but it's definitely noticeable in hindsight. Emergency Kirei lecture, of course. I call out to Tosaka after she eliminates the mark on the rooftop.
何？まだ屋上に違和感を感じるの？
What? Do you still feel something strange on the rooftop?
いや、それとは
Is
別
it about
件。
Shinji?
ここにはもうおかしなところ
Or
はない。
Ayako?
俺の方はここで打ち止めだ。
No, this is about a different matter. I don't feel anything strange here now. I can't feel anything.
そう。なら生きている時刻はほとんど消せたかな。
I see. I guess we've erased all the active marks now.
エミヤ君、魔力感知はできないくせに場所の異常には敏感なんだもの。まさかこんなに早く校舎内の時刻を消せるとは思わなかった。
You can't sense magical energy, but you're really sensitive to abnormality in the air. I guess. I didn't think I'd be able to erase all the marks so fast. Unless that was part of Shinji's trap. Tosaka's in a good mood. Oh yeah, because she's hanging out with you. Oh, I think she's still calling me Emiya, actually. I believe. I don't know if it's in the subtitles, but I think I've heard her say Emiya a couple times. I'm happy I got to be of help, but this is no time for that.
なあ、遠坂。マスターってのは、マスターがわかるのか？その、サーバントは隠していても、ただいるだけで気配が変わるとか。
Can masters recognize other masters? Does their presence change, even if their servant is in spirit form? Is it like with Death Note, where you can't see their, lifespan, so that's how a master always knows when it's another master? What? So when do we make the deal with our servant to become half servant? What? Oh, is that what Shiro ends up doing?
別にそんなことはないけど、そうね。 何も再考しなければマスターの識別はできるでしょうね。
No, but yes, you can identify a master if he hasn't done anything to hide it. Well, in Shinji's case, it seems that he's just so... He has to, like, use other things to augment his magic. He doesn't naturally have the magic, so he doesn't have to do anything to hide it, I believe is my understanding of how that works.
マスターはもともと魔術師がなるものだから、魔力を探っていけば魔術師は見つけられる。加えてサーバントなんていう破格の使い魔と契約してるんだから、隠したって魔力は漏れるわ。
All masters are magi, so you can find them if you follow the magical energy. Additionally, they formed a contract with a great familiar called a servant, so your magical energy will leak even if they hide it. No, but yes. Wait, what's the no and what's the yes? Can masters recognize other masters? No, but yes. Okay, I see what you're saying, but...
エミヤ君は鈍感だから気がつかない
She's
け
still saying
ど、
Emiya-kun.
私だって魔力を残して歩いてる。魔術師が見たら一目で私がマスターだってわかるだろうし、私だってマスターを見れば識別できるんじゃないかな。
You haven't noticed, since you're slow. But I leave magical energy behind me. A magus would know right away I'm a master. And I'm sure I can recognize another master if I see him or her. Maybe not because they're just such a shit master? You didn't recognize me, though. Because I'm also a shit master? Or what?
そうなのか。けど登坂、俺が魔術師だって知らなかっただろ。
Really?
それはどういうことだよ。
But you didn't know I was a magus? Why is that?
何？それ言っていいの？
What, you want me to say it? You suck! Tosaka sounds mean now. I have a bad feeling about this.
いや、いい。だいたい想像ついた。今。
No, it's fine. I think I figured it out. But also, what about the leaking energy? You're supposed to have leaking energy from your servant. So clearly it's not leaking enough if you can't sense me, even with, well, to be fair, before in my day-to-day, I hadn't summoned Saber yet. Whereas theoretically now I would have. Does that change anything? Can you sense me now because of my pact with Saber? How does this work? Or if you still can't, then clearly the leakage from the servant doesn't matter that much if the master themselves aren't innately that strong in magic.
賢明ね。まあそういうことよ。魔術師じゃなくても微力な魔力を持つ人はいる。魔術師はね、一定以上の魔力を帯びたものしか魔術師って認めないの。
Smart move. Well, that's how it is. There are people who have small amounts of magical energy that aren't magi. Magi prove others as magi only when they have more than a set amount of magical energy, so you need enough metachlorians. Shiro's account is too low, I see. Although he's secretly the most OP magic person in the universe, so clearly there's something weird going on there, but, Shiro and Saber's connection is also weird. That's very fair. Is Shinji and Ryder's connection equally weird? We don't know exactly. We know Shinji, it seemed like it was not normal, at least. But the full details are sketchy.
はいはい。そんなことだろうと思ったよ。
Yeah, I figured that out.
あ、けどそれじゃあ今の俺はどうなんだ？
Oh, then what do you feel from me now?
それが全然変わらないのよね。
Zen. You haven't changed at all.
まあ不完全な召喚だったっていうし、傷を治す以外はセイバーとのつながりは薄いんでしょうね。
And healing his wounds isn't even really what it's doing, but okay. I heard it was an incomplete summoning, so I bet the connection between you two is small enough, except for healing your wounds. Except? That's a big except. So, are we ever going to talk once you maybe decide that we can be fully allied? A way for me to have dragon sex? Maybe you're just going to refuse to bring that up unless Archer gets taken out, or what's the what? Because, I mean, I'd like to go down that avenue. All the details we got was from Rin, who was wrong, and Shinji that we can't trust. Oh, about Shinji's circumstances? Very fair.
まあ、エミヤ君は特例だからそういうこともありでしょ。
Well, I guess that's possible since you're a special case. Then Shinji isn't a master. Nope, he still is. Even if I can't tell, Tosaka can identify a master. He's just also got shit magic. Tosaka should be able to feel the lingering magical energy if Shinji is a master with the servant. But again, Rin herself said that you can do something to hide your presence. Rin even has a way of doing that as well, but she doesn't bother because she wants to get found and not waste time finding. I think she said that. Oh no, Rin swayed Shiro. She shouldn't have, because she said assuming they don't have a way to hide their presence. Rin, you were too convincing.
なんだマスター探しだなんて言うけどその気になればすぐにでも見つけられるんじゃないか
Okay, maybe now she'll
強い
clarify.
魔力の残りがを辿っていけばいいんだから
You say we have to look for masters, but it should be easy once we start. We just need to follow the trail of magical energy, right?
そうでもないわよ。例えばの話、
There we go.
魔力を隠してしまう道具を持っていれば敵には悟られないもの。
That's not true. If they have an item that can hide their magical energy, nobody would find out about them.
まあサーバントのデタラメな魔力を消せる道具なんて少ないでしょうからそんなマスターはいないと思うけど。
Well, I think items that can hide a magical energy as large as a servant are rare, so I don't think any master has one. Hide their servant, but as long as they're just hiding themselves, so maybe their servant is away, it might be enough. Like, how much does the leakage really amount to, right?
じゃあもし遠坂の身近にいる人間がマスターでもそんな道具を持っていたらわからないってことか
Then you can't detect a master even if he's close to you, if he has such an item? Okay, Shiro's gears are going back in the right direction. Not quite, because that's not why Shinji couldn't be detected, but, you know, theoretically.
どうかな。ものによるけどどんなに隠しても近くにいればわかると思う。サーバントと契約している以上どうしても世界との摩擦は起きるから。
It would depend on what he has, but I think I'd be able to tell if I go near him. As long as I have formed a contract with a servant, friction with the world will occur. Can you sense my friction? Because, you know, if that's a yes, then sure, maybe I should tell him, can you try seeing if it's Shinji? Because otherwise, how else do we get the proof, right?
身近にいてもマスターかどうかわからないってことはそのマスターはサーバントを使っていないってことよ。
If I can't identify a master even when I'm near him, it means then the master isn't using his servant. Isn't using, like, as in, what does that mean? That he's not close by? They're not close by and invisible? What do you mean by isn't using? What does that mean by using?
まあ例外はあるかもしれないけど9割方はそう考えて間違いないと思うわ。
Well, I guess there are exceptions, but that'll be the case 9 times out of 10. What's the 10th case? What's the 10th case? What are the exceptions, Ren? Don't leave shit out. I'm new. I'm a noob. Ugh. We return to the classroom. Just turn the servant off, of course. Even though we couldn't find any clues about other masters, it seems Tosaka's happy we eliminated a lot of the marks. She's probably happy that she just got to hang out with you, to be honest. She said something about the enemy coming out in the future because we were so active and whatnot. Oh yeah, the enemy's going to come out alright. He's already made moves. Archer was right, you're a bad teacher, Ren. Isn't transferring mana? I mean, I suppose, because you have to transfer mana, and you don't have to transfer mana if they have enough reserves. Magic is weird. Yeah.
気が長いな近いうちって言ってもどのくらい先かわからないだろう
You're patient. You don't know how long it'll be before that happens, right? I think if anything, she's just trying to protect you. I think she'd normally be more active because of her alliance with you. She's more tentative to get you endangerized yet. She's still on the Emiya-kun, so she's still, you know, frazzled in her mental state, I'd say.
そうこんな結界を張るやつだもの邪魔されて我慢できる性格じゃないわ私の見立てでは明日よ
Really? A person who set up a boundary field like this won't just stay quiet if something like this happens. I'm guessing he or she will come out tomorrow. It's possible. If they come out, then I guess that means we'll have to put out sex jokes.
二度目は黙ってられない性格でしょこいつ
This person won't let the same thing happen twice. I mean, haven't you been doing this else times? Haven't you been erasing the marks over and over? Didn't you say that, or am I crazy? Do you normally not erase all the marks in one day? Hold on, am I crazy? Go back, go way back. Tosaku Masters Rec, no, okay. Searching and erasing them. Okay, here we go. I promised I'd meet up. According to Tosaku, the Boundary Field's Foundations has been searching and erasing them. It seems they keep coming back. Okay, to know they keep coming back, she has to have done this before. So is this the first time she's just done all of them in one sitting? Because I was going to say, if it was the first time, that contradicts what you said earlier. But anyways, this person won't let the same thing happen twice.
そんなもんなのか。
That's still, I'd say, bad conveyance, because it's a conflicting message of, oh, she's been doing this. Oh, this is the first time. They won't let it happen twice. If they do mean doing all of them at once, I feel that should have been made clearer. Anyways, so that's how it is.
そんなもんよ。さて、私は用事があるから先に帰るわ。明日の決戦に備えていろいろ買わなくちゃいけないし。
What are you planning for? Well, I have to do some things. I have some things to do, so I'll be going home for now. I have to buy a lot of stuff in preparation for tomorrow. You're looking all happy about it. What's tomorrow? Do you have a plan to come over and we can have a feast together? I mean, is that what you're getting happy about? Or, I mean, if you have a magical plan, do you purchase them on the magical market? Do you have a magical market? Or are you actually planning like a... No, you wouldn't be planning... Is there like a birthday party coming up? Or is there like an Ayako party? Are you planning to spend time with Ayako and be like, hey, Ayako, you're better now? Or... What's happening exactly, Rin? What are you planning for? Why do you look so happy?
それじゃあまた明日。それと、今日は早めに帰りなさい。
Buying
寄り道なんて
gems?
したらダメだからね。
Fair. I'll see you tomorrow. Go home early today, okay? Go straight home. I suppose. Because Archer's not going to be looking out for me. Very fair point, very fair point.
なんだ。心配してくれるんだ、父さんが。
Oh, you're worrying about me? She's been worrying about me from the fucking start.
違うわよ。協力関係になったんだから、勝手に脱落されちゃ予定が狂うじゃない。
Oh, that's
今のはそ
strong
れだけの
blush.
ちょっとした確認事項。
Such strong blush. No, it just screws up my plans if my ally dies. I'm just making sure. I've already incorporated you in my plan, Baka. You're supposed to be alive for when we fight whatever master, Baka. That's why you can't die, Baka. It's not because I like you, Baka. Tosaka says so quickly. Gosh, how much more obvious could you get, Rin? I think even someone as dense as Shiro can see through that, right? But he might just think she means as a friend and not necessarily as a I want to fuck you person. Her panic is so unlike her, and it's obvious that she's only hiding her embarrassment. Okay, Shiro noticed. Good on you, Shiro. But do you understand the motivation? I see. What do you see? I'm beginning to understand more about Tosaka. Are you? Do you think she just likes you as a friend, or do you understand that she wants your body?
ともかく、エミヤ君は無防備すぎるんだから、あんまり軽率な行動はしないこと。私は例外で、他の連中は即命を奪いに来るんだからね。
You're an exception all of a sudden? Well, I guess you were always exception, but you didn't made that clear before. Anyway, you're too defenseless, so don't do careless things. I'm an exception, but other masters will kill you in a matter of seconds. Oh, that's cute, Rin. That's cute. Tosaka looks away and tries to leave. Oh! Seeing her leave, I suddenly realize again just how much I love her. Oh.
父さんが、今もアーチャーはそばにいるのか。
Oh, be careful how loud you say that. I mean, I think at this point Shinji just knows what's up with both of us, but still. Tosaka, is Archer by your side? Murmur something meaningless, just to continue the conversation because you like her. That's fair. But also, it's not necessarily meaningless, because, like, is he off doing something else? He was off doing something else last time. So there is a question there. And if he is there, it feels weird. It would feel weird for Shiro, I think, because their chemistry is going to get hurt a little bit if that guy who Shiro has such a weird relationship with is right by her side.
いるけど何？あいつに話でもあるの？
He is. What? Do you need to talk to him? Oh boy, it just got awkward. I wish I hadn't known. Shiro, if I was sure, I wish I wouldn't have known. The conversations can never be the same anymore.
いや、別に。父さんはうまくやってるのかなと思って。
I'm just wondering if you two are getting along. Yeah, since I think he's such an unlikable prick. Tosaka looks back at me in wonder at the sudden question. To be fair, you know, I mean, you know, Shiro definitely has something in a relationship with Saber, but the way, you know, Archer does act like, oh, we're just tools. But Shiro thinks Archer isn't very likable. So this is definitely, there's like a dual purpose to this question. It's like, do you guys have compatible personalities, honestly? At the same time, though, was he lying to me when he said he's like a tool? Because if you have like a compatible personality, then he's not really viewing himself as a tool as much. They are getting in disagreements, but I don't think it's true that he doesn't like her. Then... Oh, I see. What do you see? You think I'm trying to probe into your relationship for when we fight in the future? That is not what's going on. Or do you think that I'm trying to probe because I have a weird relationship with Saber? Neither is necessarily correct. It's because I have a weird relationship with Archer.
心配無用よ。あいつひねくれてるけどいいやつだもの。ああ見えても子供っぽいし、付き合っていく分には楽しいわ。
That's because you're a coy person. You enjoy the coldness of when he says cold things, and you like poking at his cold exterior a little bit, as it were. You don't need to worry. He's a good guy, even though he's rebellious. I guess... Okay, so you're right, Rin. You were on the right track. You sensed that there was anonymity. Good on you. He's a good guy, even though he's rebellious. He's immature in spite of his looks. And he's fun to be with. He's immature in spite of his looks, and he's fun to be with. You sure you're not talking about Shiro? He's a good guy, even though he's rebellious? Yeah, rebellious. Fun to be with, huh? I think he's fun to be with for you because you like prodding him, because you think it's fun to prod him. But you also think it's fun to prod me. Let's be honest here. Sitting so happily, Tosaka disappears down the stairs. That felt like a very genuine answer. I enjoyed that. And I think she understood the real reason I was asking, too. She could have definitely misinterpreted that. Yeah, Ray and Archer definitely had a great chemistry during the prologue, for sure. Archer and Shiro seem to have certainly some confliction going on. But, there's an argument to be made, or at least, I don't think this is true, but there's an argument to be made theoretically that Archer is just like this because, he's not supposed to have to like Shiro because he's an enemy master, whereas he's supposed to like Ren, so he's more accepting. But clearly there's more to it than that, because when he was first summoned, he didn't like Ren anyway, so clearly it goes deeper than that. Also, there's other things that point to that as well, but... It is just interesting when you think about it, because Shiro and Ren clearly get along, and Ren and Archer get along, so where's the confliction between Shiro and Archer? I do think it definitely comes to the fact that they're so similar, but just that slight difference makes and breaks everything, kind of. Anyways. Mitsuru's case might still be affecting me, as I am at the archery range before I know it. Of course, you have to find out how she's doing if she's supposedly back at home. Rin and Archer sitting in a tree, spying on you, watching you pee. What? The range is far from the school building and seems deserted. The club activities are over, so there's nothing to find. Why did I say that? Watching you pee? It rhymed too, it worked. Ah! The club activities are over, so there's nothing to find here. I guess I'll go home. And then Shinji catches you off guard before you go home. You told Ren you'd go straight home, but you're not going to, because Shinji's going to catch you in a trap. No, that would be Timeline 1 stupid Shiro. He still might try to catch you in a trap, because, otherwise, why is Shinji here? But, I don't know. I turn around and head to the gate, but between me and the gate is Shinji. Stands Mato Shinji as if to block my way. Alright, you want to fight? Let's do it. I'll kick your goddamn ass. You were waiting till Ren was separated from me? Good job. I'll kick your goddamn ass.
Yeah. 今頃お帰りかい? 最近は物騒だから、生徒は速やかに下校するんじゃなかったっけ?
Hey, you're going home this late? Weren't all students supposed to go home immediately since it's getting dangerous recently? Yeah, well, I wanted to, but like I had to do things, and you weren't supposed to be here. And Ren told me to go straight home, but you were probably spying on us the whole time and waiting for this moment. Dick. Dash, dash, dash. This is legitimately dangerous, though. It's very dangerous. Like, I have no way of knowing you aren't just gonna fucking attack me. If you're trying to draw a saber into a trap, though, you might have something set up elsewhere. I don't think I can be calm facing Shinji here. No, definitely not. You have to be ready for anything. Be panicked. Get panicked. I mean, keep a calm exterior, but be panicked inside. Nothing wrong with that now. I ignore him and keep walking. Ooh, that's a dangerous game.
友人に挨拶もできないぐらい疲れてるわけか。
I see. You're so tired you can't even greet your friend? I don't like you. Nobody likes you, you little prick. It's the problem now. Summoning Saber may be the worst move.
まったく。呪国潰しなんて地味なことしてるからそうなるんだよ。
There we go. You're tired because you're doing meddlesome things like destroying the spells. Oh, well, there you go. He went out and said it. His voice sounds delighted. And how are you going to react, Shiro? Are you surprised? Because I would think you wouldn't be. I would think you would know from timeline 1. I jump back and ready myself.
忠告潰し。そんなことを言えるってことは、お前。
Spell. If using that word, then... Yes, if memory serves, in timeline 1, memory's a little iffy, but I believe we were doing something similar, where we were looking for the spells, and then Shinji confronted us, and then he offered, like, oh, I'm looking for the spells too, because I'm a nobody master, we should be friends, and then he introduced me to Ryder, and tried to play the whole, oh, I'm kind of a good person too game, but here the circumstances are different, because he's already tried to ambush me, so we're already enemies from the start, so he couldn't be doing this with a plan of, oh yeah, come over, we can be friends, totally, let me introduce you to my servant, who definitely didn't attack you before. Oh, I was right to check. I was gonna be like, you said, oh no, that means that, my frames are dropping, but I'm like, are you saying, oh no, because I'm gonna have to fight Shinji? No, you're saying, oh no, because my frames are dropping. Oh, that's great. Shinji aggressing. Shinji the aggressor. Shinji the aggressor, more like Shinji the aggressed. Am I spelling aggressor right? I don't know. The title's called Master Identified. Okay, so our frames are in flux. I guess it's been kind of bad recently. Let me double check. Is this an internet problem in general? Or is it just my stream? Could I potentially load up my internet shit? I think it has just been internet in general for me, which is something that needs to be dealt with. I think it has to do with stuff in the area. Okay, it's sort of coming through now. It's extremely slow. That is slow. Alright. You know, we're not that far off. It's premature a little bit to stop today. I was thinking I might go long today to make up for lost time. But that's only under the context that, I don't have issues like this. I'm in no rush. This feels like a fine stopping point, I feel. Shinji's just outed himself. Yeah, in fact, I'm fine to call it here. It's not even that early compared to where I would normally stop. Even though I was planning to go later, but I'll do that in a day. As soon as I don't have issues like this, I'll probably go a little bit later. But for today, I think I'm fine to stop a bit early. So I'll see you guys next time. Still don't have an outro phrase. YouTube video. Shinji's outed himself. There's gonna be drama next time. Drama. Oh, hey, we're past 20,000 drop frames. I was gonna say it's like 2021, but that's not right, because it's 20,000. We're not in your 20,000. Anyway, still don't have an outro phrase. Bye-bye.